Okay. What's going on, Jake Hittenoric? How's it going? I managed to start the stream at like a reasonable time this week, and I didn't get so sidetracked that I ended up canceling. It's a regular one. And I'm glad because there were random intervals today that I was tired, and I tried to at some point go down and like take a nap, and somehow in the process of trying to sleep, I woke up. It was weird. But I am here now. I'm good. I had some coffee after that. And I don't know, I'm pretty good. Definitely looking forward to all these next chapters. I think I've only seen spoilers for Black Clover. Black Clover and then like obviously My Hero, but like I don't really talk about My Hero on here, but just because I didn't see them, but I was like, do I want to pretend I hadn't? I feel like at least one person's gonna bring it up, but I don't know. What's going on, Sen? How are you? Kian Longhurst, how are you doing today? I couldn't sleep last night. I have those nights sometimes. I've never been a good sleeper. I only sleep usually like 5 hours a day. Friday night is generally my sleep night. Fridays, I end up sleeping probably around like between like 7 to like 8-9 hours or something. Just because like Saturday will really depend because I want to make sure I get up at a fair time for the Shonen Jump chapters when they get put out. Funny how much hate Creed gets for just talking to Homura. That's just the Homura stands are upset that like the guy that in verse that's crushing on Homura is not like he's not a cool guy. Like Creed, there's nothing wrong with Creed, but he's like 2 steps from being a background character, and that's not his fault. Like he doesn't have like a crazy design. We don't know anything about him. I'm actually kind of hoping like if Mishima does plan on doing something with like a Homura Creed ship for real, that he ends up giving like he ends up putting Creed on a pathway to actually being really cool. Like what if his hair, like that like black part of his hair like grew like long, so he had like one long kind of like stream going down, and then he became like a badass? Because his ether gear is good, it just at the moment doesn't seem too crazy. But he could get something badass with it. Obviously, like the chain power, like it could have lots of really cool uses. Like, you look at like Hades, his chains didn't have anything really that crazy to him, but it, like obviously just general usage were good. And then you could also make them explode and stuff. Like either way, Creed's got some potential. We'll really see. Like it's really gonna depend on Mishima, because Mishima, one of his habits is when he's actually really bored of a character, not like bored, but like when he doesn't really have anything for a character to continue, he'll kind of just sideline him. Like Bacchus is probably the best example of that, because like with someone like Ivan, he had an existence that we don't really know what happened there, but Bacchus like had the whole first part with the chariot game and his whole hype the night before, like on the first night of the Grand Magic Games, and everything really about how he started out was fair. Like he definitely like was living into his hype and stuff. And then it was after that initial fight with Elfman that he just kind of kept getting bodied. And Quattro Cerberus like got memed on by Mishima, and not even like the whole Quattro puppy thing. Like in his own stuff. If you look at the guild card for Quattro Cerberus, it's like you have Bacchus, and he gets his own, and then the next one and the only other one for Quattro Cerberus, it's all the other Quattro Cerberus members, and it's just like them in a group. He doesn't even give them all their own individuals. I don't know what it was about Quattro Cerberus Mishima ended up kind of memeing on them for, because they were one of the earlier guilds to be mentioned in the series, because like, back in Clover you had people like Goldmine and Bob like shown. You had their guilds actually present at near the very beginning, and Goldmine used to be a member of Fairy Tail, so it's weird that Mishima like has kind of shafted Quattro Cerberus as it did. But the weirder one is that he built up Bacchus and then kind of just left it there. I don't know. He feels like the real. He's like the real of Fairy Tail, to be perfectly honest. What's up, Irene in July? You're halfway through your month. Love your racks from Australia. Oh, thank you. I'm a big fan of Australia. You guys have like a majority of the cool bugs in the world. Just about to write my story, do laundry, and cook some food. Good. I've done a little bit of laundry today. I woke up and like I started cleaning, and then like didn't realize that like I just kind of did that for like a straight half hour, and then then started my day like actually doing normal stuff. I gotta go back and finish cleaning at some point. I actually did a lot more cleaning than I planned. I have a closet that I've been meaning to clean for like a year and a half, and it just been sitting there. And one of the reasons I really want to clean it is the whatever the part on the door, obviously that like when you close it, it goes into the it closes whatever that latch part on the handle, so it actually goes and stays. It doesn't fully go in, so you can push it open, and my cats will just go in there. And it was bothering me for a while because I had an old bed frame piece that was in there, and one of them got stuck on it. And I'm glad I got over there in time because like I don't, obviously, like a freaking out cat could easily hurt her paw and whatever, but it's all clean now. It's perfectly good. I store everything away and threw away any like, I think I had some like random styrofoam pieces and stuff and vacuumed in there. So productivity today. That's at least something I've got going on. Next week I'm going to finish Tower of God. One day I will get to Tower of God. How am I? I'm good. Like I said, I've been doing some cleaning today. The Chalice arc in the anime is far better than the manga version, which I'm happy about. Yeah, it looks really colorful. Did they do anything different, or is it just like the obvious like animation and like the coloring and stuff? With usually when it's animes that I'd say like generally like Black Clover and like Fairy Tail I kept up with for the most part, but usually when it's like stuff that I already read, I'll wait a bit and binge it. The thing right now why I'm not keeping up episode for episode Eden Zero is because it doesn't have any like the way more convenient official release areas, and I'll just end up watching it when it gets to one of them, what's it next month, because then I can put it on my big TV down in my living room, and that'll be way cooler than some pirated site somewhere on my computer. I'd much rather watch it on my big TV. After that, I'm watching Eden Zero anime and manga. That's good. Eden Zero's good stuff. Rack's thoughts on people hating Asta smiling without context of the chapter. People just don't like that Asta's showing up, and then obviously like it's his smiling. I'd say it's just because it's so shifting of the mood that Megicula presents. Obviously, like her just being this overwhelmingly dangerous devil that just seems to be noping any attack or ability that comes her way. That's, for the most part, what I've seen. I think more people are just upset that Asta is present. And I can understand some people's complaints. To me, it's really going to depend on what Tabata does from here onward. Oh, hiccup right there. I'm really hoping that Megicula just, like, brings up stuff about, like, what she knows about Asta, and maybe gives us some stuff about Zagrid, and then just maybe either... I don't know. I was gonna say like tries to like fight her, but I kind of want her just to leave. I want her to be smart because we know that like she honestly, if Megicula can get all the way out and then stop the gates from opening, then she can be the highest ranked devil out, and Lucifaro and all the others are trapped. They're not getting out. She would have free range. And as far as we know, she'd be the most powerful character, like, out in the normal world. So, fingers crossed on that. And honestly, like, her level of clear, I don't want to say, like, not surveillance, but her kind of, like, level of intel and just general knowledge, she probably would be able to figure out if somebody was going to try and open it again and they don't stop them. Like, it'd actually be really cool, if she did, because I really prefer the idea that the devils are all out for themselves. Like, there's obviously a ranking system, like, we know that's the thing, but, like, I feel like they're always going to want to aim for what benefits themselves the most, and that just makes the most sense to me. Next week, wait, I read this one. Do you think Georg will have any history with Irene and maybe even Zeref? It's going to depend on how old he is. It's, like, his level of large-scale story impact is going to depend on how old he is. And there's two pathways that I think that'll either go down, my guess at least, is one, the whole theory that he consumed Acnologia's severed arm. And that's a weird theory, but to me it makes a lot of sense of why he would be about, like, eating dragon meat, as well as it would be, like, it would be the fastest power-up to logically for him to just jump tiers if he consumed a piece of Acnologia and then gained a proportionate amount of power to that. Or what also again would be really cool, because that's an interesting one, but the one I think I would prefer is if he was around for the initial, like, dawn of Dragon Slayers and the whole war, and he's just been kind of doing his own thing the whole time. Like he is one of the, like, initial wave of Dragon Slayers. Because that's one thing I really wish we saw, or we get to at some point, is a couple of characters like Irene. Like, they don't have to be as powerful, but we could have, like, a character that is a Dragon Slayer that is, you know, been hiding out in the world. Like, if we got a couple of them, that, not for the sake of, like, oh, you know, just powerful characters existing, but I think it'd be really cool to find out lore from them, as well as, like, get their story of, like, what it's been like and what they've been doing, and, like, where it was to be in that war. One of the theories I had way back in the day was during the time when there was, like, the stuff at the Eclipse Gate and the whole idea of going back in time to prevent Zeref becoming immortal, and, you know, what Arcadius thought was a factor in stopping Acnologia was, you know, they have to go back in time before Zeref became immortal. And in my head, I still remember this theory because I was like, man, this would be really cool, is if they went back in time and the main Dragon Slayer cast, like, you know, you could bring more than just them, but you have, like, Wendy, Natsu, and Gagio, end up meeting a bunch of, like, original generation Dragon Slayers. Like, if they like, met Dragon Slayers from that initial construction of the class, and they kind of trained with them, that would have been really sick.
Shit. You just busted a nut.
Thank you for the super chat, Jason. I much appreciated. I much appreciate what you said. I messed up saying that. Predictions on the other 3 Black Dragon Slayer Knights. See, the big confusion, so in the whole setup for them, when everyone thought Suzaku's thing was going to be on the Phoenix, it was either, like, to me, like, I like the Blood idea, but, you know, a lot of people are going more for the Phoenix because of his design, obviously his name and stuff, and the fact that there's, you know, that plural of, like, that there's more than one of the Black Dragon Slayer Knights. It was the idea, was it the four deities, the 4 Chinese deities, obviously one of them being the Vermilion Phoenix, that being Suzaku. So it's like, oh, well, maybe the other 3 are going to be based on the other 3 deities. I think it's the White Tiger, Black Turtle, Nazir Dragon. So I was like, oh, well, you know, it could be those, or we could get... I thought that was probably the most likely one, but it was like, I was going to go off of something like that, or something like the 4 Horsemen, which would be sick. I'd be so happy if Mishima did something like that, because Suzaku already still technically fits it, because out of the 4 Horsemen, War was the rider of the red horse, and he wielded a sword. And that actually would really help for an old theory I had that almost came back and then got thwarted again, is that initially I thought Zeref was going to be something like that, because Acnologia's whole thing is the apocalypse, and the 4 Horsemen are what usher in the apocalypse, and Acnologia kind of showed up wherever Zeref was and stuff. So Zeref being, I know he's like, his whole thing is death, but to me at least it made sense if he was going to be famine because of, like, you know, his illness, his mental illness because of his curse and stuff, and everything in there, the sort of sickness he is to the world. And then we got you know, who would be revealed later to be Ferris as, you know, the White Wizard, and she, like, kind of going around, like, kind of like taking over people, had, like, the whole vibe of conquest. So it worked in that setup. But if we could get something like the 4 Horsemen as Dragon Slayers, that would be so sick. Either way, like, it's something right now that will just be raw speculation until we can get a second one. If we get a second Black Dragon Slayer Knight and it gives credit to a theme, like something Mishima is basing the 4 of them off, like say the 4 Chinese deities or the 4 horsemen, something like that, then I can give, like, way better of guesses on the other ones. Whereas it could easily be he's just making them, he's not giving them off of a theme, or there's more than 4, you know? Did they say specifically 4? I don't remember. I don't think there was ever a set number. I think 4 has just been what I've primarily been going off of, because I thought it was the 4 deities, but I don't think there was a name, not a name. I don't think there was a set number. Oh, I clicked on my video. That might repeat through the audio really fast. And I gotta remember to tweet out the stream really fast. I'll just say, crap. Let me think of something really fast, and then I'll get back to the chat. I luckily managed to get all the hashtags in there before like the stream kind of like picked up more and people started posting. And alright, guys, I see a good, healthy set of comments. I'm gonna get to this. I just gotta think of what I want to set up as the tweet for the stream. I think I'll just say, back to the grind of streams. Chapters this week were sick. Hoping next set is just as hype. There we go. That's pretty positive too. I know some people are kind of not liking what happened in the Black Clover chapter. Like I said, I'm indifferent. It's really going to depend on what Tabata does from here. The one thing I will say I do not want whatsoever in any direction is I do not want Megicula to be killed in this setup by Asta. If she's at least killed by Noelle, I would be slightly more okay with it. I do not want Megicula to die here, though. That is to me like my biggest thing that I do not want occurring, because Megicula was the first devil we got a name for, and she's been talked about since essentially this arc, but obviously right before the time skip and stuff. And when we actually got bits of her when she was talking through Monica and stuff, she was really cool. And now we finally actually got her design and are seeing her on display. She's been living up to the hype, and like I said, when we got Zagrid, really cool. We got the twins and twins Ras, but Megicula picking that torch back up, super hype. I've been very happy about Megicula. I've been very happy to see how exactly Tabata has been presenting her, and like I said, I don't want anything bad to really happen to her. Georg could have eaten Eknologi's other arm. Yeah, I know a lot of people have thought that, which is funny. I wish I would keep receipts sometimes, because I don't know if I was the first one to say that, but I feel like I was. I remember when I brought it up, it was really silly. Some of the theories that I had, those kind of weird ones that I'm not 100% sure on at the time, but then later they start to pick up some steam. I actually had the theory that that Toka was going to be an Exceed, and she was actually referring to Happy and not Natsu, and it was just a mix match. And I remember that week, right before it happened, right before the reveal, I just brought that up last second, because well, I might as well get the theory out there, even if it's a little strange. And then it turned out to be true, and it was great. I was super hyped about that. I was like, those are the good ones. Those are the ones where it's just yeah, oh, that happened also on that happened in the end of chapter 76, because it was right before, right when we saw that silhouette, and I was naming people who it could be, and the last second I thought, well, it could be Suzaku, and then it ended up being him. I was so hyped for that, because he is introduced in 63, and then we hadn't seen him since then, and we finally got to him. I remember people were salty that I was hyping him up. Man, I was dude, I've been hyped about this dude since he was introduced, and we literally had 3 panels of no dialogue before chapter 77. Anyway, I'm not a big Homura fan, and I want Creed gone. What's Creed done, though? I don't get the Creed hate. Creed definitely has some nerd energy, but like I said, he hasn't done anything I think to deserve the dislike. He hasn't done anything nefarious. He hasn't done anything evil. I don't mind Asta showing up, but I wish he didn't, because in Noelle's time... Yeah, but the thing is, Noelle... right now, Noelle couldn't do... she can't do anything to Megicula. Vonica, yes. Megicula is clearly too much for her. And Megicula's not even fully manifested. And we know if Asta didn't show up, then Megicula would have just nuked the era. She was just blown up Lolo right there. We don't know if Vonica's still alive. And if Vonica's dead and Lolo got killed, then bam, Megicula fully manifests. And then what does Noelle do? Who helps Noelle? You would have to give Noelle another boost or have a bunch more characters show up. But I don't really see any of the other characters doing stuff right now against Megicula. If Asta was fully up, he'd be one of the characters I'd say, yeah, Devil Union Asta. I don't know if he could beat Megicula, because I think the difference between Megicula and Fused Lilith is Megicula would be way smarter about it. We know Lilith was faster than Asta, and if she just was smarter from the start, she literally could have just left, waited for and if she wanted to, waited for Asta's timer to go off, came back, or just left. She was out in the world. She could have had free range to do whatever she wanted. But I think Megicula would be way smarter about it. And I don't really know what other characters were going to do much if Asta didn't show up. That was, I think, part of the problem with anybody else really doing anything with how the situation was. Because Noelle was down, Gages is clearly, like, Gages on his last couple breaths. Rill is not going to do anything. Charlotte is barely still standing. And I know, like, Noelle and Dorothy are characters that people want to show up, but, like, as hype as that would be, I don't really know what Noelle and Dorothy would do. Like, if this was pre-Megicula, I'd be like, yeah, them showing up, they can definitely put in some work. But, like, Megicula clearly is... Like, she's clearly not someone that any of them can really just kind of contend with right now. If we had, like, Patry show up, or maybe someone like Raya, and Raya's got, like, some OP ultimate copy magic or something, and, like, he could, like, round for round copy, like maybe it's like, oh, his ultimate magic, he doesn't have to touch grimoires, and he just has to see them. And he copied, like, Decaying World, so he kind of just, like, neutralizes Decaying World, or something like that. Those are, like, I can sort of see it, but, like, right now, Asta obviously doesn't have Devil Union, so, like I said, it's really going to depend on what Tabata does from here. Read Mashal? Yes, Mashal was hyped last week. I actually, like, Mashal's one of the ones that, like, I want to look at spoilers all the time, but Mashal's in such a hype spot that I don't want to at the same time, because there's a lot of, like, big moves going on, and I'm always really hyped when series end up having big characters make moves, just because you're able to really see the scope of what the authors kind of have in mind, especially when you have, like, a big flex early, because, like, what we're seeing, like, the kind of, like, what the, I don't know what the Mashal mangaka's name is, but, like, what exactly this dude's, what his scope of where characters are going to end up being when they reach the top, which is really cool. And as well as, like, OP abilities, like, seeing, like, his large-scale art. Because I don't think prior to this we saw any, like, really big attacks and just kind of, like, displays of power. So it's just really neat to see. What's up, Zach, man? How are you doing? My guess is a sign like Quattro Cerberus to not have to deal with many more characters. I think Quattro Cerberus just kind of, like, I think they just kind of got memed on. Because, like, outside of Bacchus, the rest of Quattro Cerberus, like, they didn't have, like, any really impressive magic. They got kind of memed on a lot. Like, look at Warcry. Warcry stepped up. He immediately got bodied by Orga. Look what happened to Rocker. Rocker got immediately knocked out of, the naval battle. Like, they were consistently screwed over. And it's not a big deal. Like, the funny thing is, Quattro Cerberus was fodder to the people that were in the Grand Magic games, but that doesn't change the fact that they were still one of the top guilds around. Like, they were still one of the top known guilds. They're just the bottom of the top placing guys. Like, that's just the thing about it. Rebecca Trash can't win a fight without Shiki. I mean, she's the least experienced. Actually, it's not even true. She won her last fight. She beat Brittany. But she's fresh into fighting. Like, she just got... I don't know... Have they stated, like, the time? I know that they experienced the month of training was, like, 35 days or whatever. But, like, she still barely had her power. Like, she's barely had her Ethiker. She only knows how to do a couple things with it. She can run fast, and she has her time reversal of that she can use twice. She does, like, she's not an experienced fighter right now. And that's just the reality of it. You can't look at things like every character is going to be able just to instantly throw down with every other person. Let's see. Rax of Jura became a Dragon Slayer and something of Raucous Element. I think Magma would be cooler. That would be pretty sick. I actually really like Jura. Jura's funny because he's kind of like Guild Arts, where his fighting style is like borderline already. Like, he's like a couple steps away from being a Dragon Slayer and how his powers are utilized. Even like their physical strength, their durability, their close range kind of like ability to throw hands. Only thing obviously that they don't really have is the dragon attribute and like eating their whatever their attribute is. How could have Georg killed a dragon without being a Dragon Slayer already? Yeah, but we don't know if he was, like, we don't know that about him yet, obviously, but we don't know if he at some point got dragon meat and became the first dragon eater, or if he was a Dragon Slayer that ended up eating a dragon at one point and then became a dragon eater. Obviously, Georg now is the most mysterious out of the group, because my theory was Suzaku and the Black Dragon Slayer Knights were already Dragon Slayers and then also gained like an additional Dragon Slayer ability, and they ended up kind of like helping the other members of Diabolos get their Dragon Slayer powers too. But it seems like that's not the case. That was Georg, which would make sense. He's the Guildmaster, and that though just sets up the fact that he is the most mysterious out of all of them by far, because that means that at some point whenever he met all of them, he was already a Dragon Slayer. So he's the one that is the big question mark because of how dragon eating, like the full 5th gen works and the Dragon Eaters work. Any like wizard seems to be able to become a Dragon Eater in reality, but obviously it's just like dragon meat is just so like you're not just gonna find dragon meat the same as like going to a shop and finding like a magic weapon. You essentially would have to have a dragon or a Dragon Slayer give you the opportunity to become a Dragon Eater, unless just you were really lucky and somehow came across dragon meat in whatever situation that would kind of like result in that. So Georg is the question, because he is the one that means all of the other characters in Diabolos led to them getting Dragon Eater powers. I'm kind of hoping that one other member of Diabolos was a Dragon Slayer already, but we'll have to see about that. I'm going to start buying Eden Zero volumes. Good. Support the official release, man. Nothing different, but the colors, music, and some Sakuga moments are great. That's still good. Has Nino shown up in the Eden Zero anime yet? No. He's next arc. He'll be in the next arc, because they're about to be fully finished with Digitalis, so the next thing is the Sun Jewel. Honestly, I'm fine with Asta showing up. Yeah, to me, it really depends on what Tabata does next. I will say, I do not want Asta to take the spotlight from Noelle. I mentioned it in Josuke's stream, and I know that they weren't like the keenest on it. I would be perfectly fine if Asta, because he can't use Black Form or Devil Union right now, if he essentially just had regular anti-magic, and then he was a support character to Noelle. Like, imagine Noelle doing her normal fighting stuff, and Asta's whole contribution to that is just anti-magicking stuff coming her way, just kind of like doing the best he can to clear a path for her and to kind of like watch her back. Happy birthday to Jason. Yeah, it's Jason's birthday. He turned 26 today. He's joining the old man's club like me. Happy birthday to you, man. I remember to give you a preemptive happy birthday yesterday, but I haven't said it today. So happy birthday, man. Let me get some more of these comments. How good would Suzaku do against base Zeref if Zeref didn't use Time Stop? Oh, he could definitely dice up Zeref. It just wouldn't matter. Like, based off of his, like, actual, like, his displays, where he's at in feats, speed, and everything, he can definitely, like, he could carve up Zeref, no problem. It just wouldn't matter. Zeref would just get back up. Rebecca actually loses her legs. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. Like, I know some people probably want that, and the people probably the most are the guys that want to, like, always try and say that, like, Eden Zero was a million times darker than Fairy Tail. That, you know, probably the same people that only watch the dubbed anime. But I really don't think that that's... I don't want that to happen. I feel like that'd just be a really weird turn. It, like, I'm not opposed to it, but it's not a spot that I would prefer to go down. Like, if it happened, I would be like, okay, well, we'll see where things are going, because, like, my personal opinion is different than what I think makes sense. If something didn't make sense, that's a whole different story of why I wouldn't like something, versus, like, my personal take of, like, oh, yeah, I don't really like this direction. It's like, oh, you know, it doesn't really matter if it's my own personal take. That's just what I think. Doesn't mean it has to happen that way. I think Georg wouldn't have many types but one on a very high level, like Acting Logia, but only one type. I don't think so. Like, the way that it's set up, Georg, like, because he wants to eat the Dragon God. He wants to eat parts of the Dragon God, so he would get whatever their attributes as well upon doing so. So he's likely gained more than one type. Otherwise, like, if he doesn't have more than one type, I would imagine that it would be like an amalgamation of different types. Like, he would have like 8 different Dragon Slayer attributes, but instead of it being 8 types, it's just one mega fused attribute. I could see that, but outside of that, I don't really know. I'd love to see Hades return. I wish. I mean, I would actually really love to just get like a Hades spinoff. Yeah, he's not coming back. Would Alvarez Gray low diff mid or high diff Hades with Devil's Heart? Oh, current Gray? Gray would probably just blitz him. Like, in reality, Gray would walk through him. Like, Hades is a good example of, like, you can't You can't have that Dragon Ball kind of mindset, like every character following is going to automatically be more powerful than the last. Because, for one, because also the Starry Sky arc is canon, and none of the Reborn Racion Seis are above Hades. And Future Rogue is stronger than Hades with his dragons, but outside of that, no. Like, 1v1, Hades would completely wash him. Whereas Hades is still strong. I could argue that he's at least High Wizard Saint, possibly low Spriggan level, because Makarov is factually, like, at least at the time, we don't know where he's at now, like, a good solid Wizard Saint level, we don't know exactly where he ranked, but the fact that Hades has completely washed him, like, no problem whatsoever in base, should mean that he is at least gonna be around people like upper Wizard Saints to low Spriggans. Oh crap, actually clicked out of the window, there we go. Suzaku's second attack, one-shotted Celine. That wasn't a second attack. He's dropped like 3 or 4 attacks? But that was absolutely his all-in. That wasn't like, oh yeah, I dropped an attack. That's like when Natsu uses Dragon Force. Like, once that attack's over, he's done. Like, he looks like he's barely able to keep standing. She could have ended the fight if she wanted, but she's too focused on torturing him for eating one of her sons. Yeah, she got caught. That's the problem that obviously Celine ran into, and I do think that I think she's gonna get away, and because of this whole setup, I think that the next time she runs into Suzaku, she's not gonna be fucking around. I think she's gonna be way more serious. She's not only gonna be mad about the stuff with Karanugi, but she's gonna be mad at what happened to her, and she's going to be way more quick on the draw. Because we saw, like, at the start of the fight, Suzaku's normal techniques weren't, like, she just completely, like, danced around them, no problem. She didn't even take him seriously. It's just, I think that she just wasn't ready for that. If she was, like, in an actual battle mindset, like she was fighting somebody that she saw as, like, an opponent that she had to take seriously, I don't think Suzaku would have landed that attack. But it's just how it is. Like, that happens sometimes when characters get caught in stuff. Like, look at Natsu. Natsu went to fight Suzaku in base. That's his fault. If Natsu at least went into Fire Drag King mode, I think Natsu either could have blocked it or dodged it or parried it. But he wasn't ready for what happened. He didn't have the proper mindset of who he's facing. And that just happens sometimes when you get in a spot of a character who's clearly taking things more seriously and has a means to dispense you. Look at Magna and Dante. Let's see. Rax said, "How do you feel about Undine getting cursed again?" That's unfortunate, but I mean, what really was she gonna do? Like, as like meme on Undine as he can, like, she really, like, it's not like she could have done anything. Like, there's nothing that she could have done to prevent what just happened to her. I'd like to see his Story of the Dead Nineheart spell again. Oh, I mean, Nineheart's alive. He could get out. The thing about Nineheart that's really funny is Nineheart is a pathway for 2 of my characters that I missed to come back. Mardgeir and Wall both could come back if Nineheart just made a Historia of them for a little bit, because a Historia of Mardgeir could make another Hell's Core and then just put himself in a new body. And Wall could literally just make a new body. He's a robot. He could just program his brain into it. Phoenix from the Phoenix Priestess movie was said to be a threat to the world, so where would you rank it among dragons in power? I personally would assume that it's gonna at least be around characters like Irene, if not more, because they classified it as like a threat level to, like, comparable somewhat to Zeref. So I would assume that it's something that would should be around that. The thing is, like, Irene should have, like, a really good way of just dealing with the Phoenix, because the Phoenix doesn't seem to have any form of intelligence. It just seems to be a rampaging monster. So someone like Irene, who's also really smart, but also can mess with magic and enchant, like, she could probably just completely, like, mess any attack that, like, it tries to do up by, like, just dispersing it or enchanting it into something else. Maybe we could see types from other generations, like Poison Dragon Slayer 5th gen. Well, so far the thing about 5th gen is none of them have been traditional types. Not one member of Diabolos or the Dragoners have been a normal type. Like, everything prior to that, for the most part, were elements. They were the regular elements you would expect. And then we get, like, Blade and Corpse and Armor and frickin' Clinging and frickin' Sword Saint. Like all of the 5th gen Dragon Slaying attributes have not been traditional elements at all. Follow-up question, Rex. What if the other Black Dragon Slayer Knights have Celine's Sun Magic too, or probably only Suzaku? I'm hoping it's just Suzaku, because I want that to be just a thing for him. It'd be really weird if, like, if that was the case, I feel like it can't be a coincidence. It would have to be something like Georg planned it. Like, Georg was intentionally doing this. I'm kind of hoping that's not the case, because I would like that if Celine is not going to either empower the Moonlight Beauty Gods or pick new ones, that it'd be cool if, like with all the Dragon Slayers around, like if she decided to call all of her children back, and then we got to see them. Because the thing about Celine that is very true is, now that we've had this whole reveal, she is not only, a dragon, but she is a mother dragon. She has her own brood. And in video games and, in like tabletops, anything really involved like dealing with dragons, whenever it's a female dragon, they generally have their offspring as part of like the encounter. Whether it's like you go into a dragon's lair and you might run into one of her offspring and they're a boss. Like, imagine if her next set of minions instead of the Moonlight Beauty Gods is like 3 to 4 dragons. I think that'd be really cool. Because one, she would know that she should know where to find them, or at least ways to contact them. She could bring them in, and it would make sense why they would listen to her. And they have means of dispensing with other dragons if they showed up. I mean, look at all the Dragon Slayers. And Wendy literally can just say, hey, you guys don't worry, I'll give you the dragon attribute, fight, you're good. There's a really good chance Mishima could do with that. And I'm super hyped to see where he does it, or where he takes it, because we got, slain sons, plural, not just son. What else is there? Let me scroll down. I'm getting caught up somewhat. Do you think it's a better space fleet, the Narrow Empire or Galactic Empire from Star Wars? I mean, so far, I would definitely go with the Empire from Star Wars. They had a Death Star. They can blow up planets. And they seem to somehow, like, never die out, even if you defeat all of them, and for some reason they just come back, because clones. I mean, which ones I'm going to say I like more? Well, if it wasn't for the Disney Star Wars, obviously I'm going to pick the Star Wars Empire, but, like, the Disney one just made it look silly, so I'd probably go Narrow. Rex, the keyboard hero, man. People comment on my keyboard typing all the time. Cliche keyboard typing. I didn't even type anything on my keyboard this time, did I? That might have been earlier. I think, those comments must have been while I was tweeting out the stream. The next chapter is called The False Five. So I was guessing, I thought it was going to be the previous generation of Oceans, but from the spoilers, it looks like it's the game that Lyra is playing, which is still fine. I would really am hoping, though, that I'm both hoping that the old Oceans come back, but I'm kind of hoping not, because I had a similar idea for a story that I was doing, and there's actually funny, because there's a couple of things that Mishima has done that I had an idea for, but I never got. Obviously, I don't have a story out, so I can't do it. It's not like every story, but there's like a couple random things. Toriko had that too. There was one thing from Toriko, like the planet, how it kind of grows. That was something I had an idea for, but obviously that was eventually introduced in the series. I was like, well, crap, I can't do this. But the old ocean showing up be really cool. But then I don't know. I feel like I couldn't use that idea for my story. It's not the same thing, but it's kind of like you essentially had the same concept of the oceans, but the idea of them was you have whoever is the king has, or king or queen has, like, their own elite guard, and whoever is going to take the throne next pretty much picks their new set of their guard, and the previous ones just retire. That's essentially the idea that I had, and I was like, oh, and then eventually you can meet the old ones at some point in the story or something, like scattered out in the world doing whatever the fuck. But if Mishima does that, then I don't know if I can faithfully use it. Mora and Creed are the give geeks a chance trope. I mean, like I said, I'm not opposed to the idea right now. It's going to depend on, like, if Mishima is going to do that, he's got to make Creed cool. He's got to do something cool with Creed. Because Homora's, like, the most... Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the whole Eden Zero fandom did a poll and Homura won Best Girl. Everyone seems to really like Homura for the most part. Probably, like, 90-something% of the fandom likes Homura. So, I would assume that she would win. And I can understand the idea of people not liking Creed being the ship right now, because he hasn't done anything cool. He hasn't done anything that make it feel like, why is he getting shipped up with Homura of all people? And like all he's done so far is, I don't know, just kind of be like a nerd. I wouldn't even call him a simp, because like he hasn't done any simpery. He's kind of just been like a shy nerdy dude who's, you know, he's got the hots for this big chesty cool badass chick. Georg would turn the twin chump Sabretooth into milkshakes and drink them. Wait, what? Don't hate on Sting and Rogue. Sting and Rogue are cool. I like Creed especially his ether gear. Yeah, he's a really cool ether gear. I do like his ether gear. It's just neat looking. I would say still probably my favorite ether line design is Daishi's. I really like the weird plant design to go with that. Mashle author's name Komodo. I should be able to remember that. That's an easy name. That's literally just Komodo with a T instead of a D. Oh, and I gotta scroll up. I don't want to skip anything. Or was I? There we go. Creed will beat Homura Simon. Homura Simon. Oh, I hope not. If what you mean is what I think you mean, I'm hoping that's not the case. I don't think. I don't remember if I asked this, but you think we could see more Devil Slayer types? I hope so. The perfect way, I've mentioned it a couple times that you could do it, because the thing is, like, demons naturally exist in the world. We see them on the Galuna Island, obviously, and we see a demon egg in Gray's spinoff, and obviously it's not in the book, so it doesn't have anything to do with Zeref. So, or at least I would assume so. I don't think there was any mentioning of anything being from a book of Zeref. Oh, hang on, I gotta get a drink really fast. Anyway, yeah, you could still have demons in the story and stuff. And the thing about the Aetherius is you could have other Aetherius exist, they just couldn't be tied to Zeref. Because we know that, like, people that worship Zeref they would learn black magic because of the fact that Zeref was a master of black magic. So, if there were characters out there that learned how to do living magic in kind of, you know, obviously in reference to worshipping Zeref, it would make sense. I would say, like, obviously they can't have the same level of craziness that, you know, Zeref demons have, and can't have nearly as many, but if, like, we got introduced to some character that had, like, you know, 2 to 3 Aetherius of their own, I'd be okay with that. Or you could have, what I wish would be the case, would be a Strauss sibling spinoff, and you could have a Devil Slayer who is going after Mira Jane. Like, that could be so cool. And then you have it's like, oh, Silver met this dude at some point, and wherever he's from, we can find out where Devil Slayers originated from, get information and lore from that. That would be super hype. I love demons that existed before Zeref created his own. There's still demons. I mean, like Galuna Island, those are natural demons. The Aetherius are called the Aetherius. They're not just, like, they are devils and demons, but the Aetherius technically aren't, because it's weird, like the Aetherius and like through living magic, they're like living stories, because they're written like everything that they are in their book, and whatever they are in the book is how they're going to be when they set up. So like you could probably make like an angel Aetherius if you really wanted to, but for the most part there still are demons out in the world. Like, look at Galuna Island. Question: if Raya touched Zagred's grimoire, would he get a devil spell? I assume so, just based off how it is. The thing about Raya is we know how Raya's powers work to such a fundamental level that we know that even characters more powerful than him, if he touches their grimoire, he should get it, because power levels don't matter, because regardless if somebody is stronger or weaker than him, their magic gets scaled to his level. And we know the requirement for it, he just has to touch their grimoire. And it's kind of like August. We know the limitations of August magic as well. When you have, like, set limitations and aspects, that's when you can obviously, like, it becomes way easier to kind of deal with, rather than something that's either vague or, we barely have any general information on. Fuego needs to come cuck Noelle. I don't know about that, man. Noelle's cool. What's wrong with Noelle? Save Noelle and defeat Megacula. I don't know about that. That would feel like a Fuego fan chapter. Like that'd be like raw fan fiction. And I like Fuego, but I don't really. One, I don't want him to show up and kill Megacula, and two, this isn't his fight. Like, if he showed up and, like, outdid Noelle, I would legitimately put that as, like, a bad chapter. I would put that as probably one of the worst chapters. And not from, like, obviously in Fuego doing stuff. It wouldn't be something for him, because Megicula has ties, if not more than to any other character, than to Noelle. Quattro Servers is cool. The purple scorpion dude is cool. Actually, wouldn't Lizana also be the real fairy tale? No, because Lizana doesn't have the hype. Lizana doesn't have the same level of introduction and display. Bacchus and Rill are both the same in the amount of display they got, but also they lived up to that, like, their general hype in their first real showing. Like, and for the most part, their showing was to build off another character. Like, you had Elfman and you had Ryuno. But after that point, they just kind of get beaten up a lot. Also, really quick, we got 24 people here. We got 8 likes. I really appreciate it. You know, you don't have to, but I would appreciate it if you could thumbs up the stream, friend the video, and subscribe if you haven't. And if you feel like it, you want to throw $1 my way, I would appreciate it. You don't have to, though. They are all appreciated, but not required for the stream. It's just if you feel like I've done a good job, at least keeping you semi-entertained, I would hope. All right, Rex, who's gonna succeed? Ziggy is who's gonna succeed Ziggy as final villain? Limitless. Limitless succeeded Lucia. Acnology succeeded Zeref. Limitless. What are you talking about? Limitless? You mean Endless? Because Endless was part for Lucia, and technically neither Zeref or Acnologia were the final villain because Fairy Tail's still going. You can't disrespect Lizana like that. Yeah, Lizana doesn't have... Lizana's character didn't have nearly the level of aspect in the series that that Rill and Bacchus had. Like, there's nothing about really that, like, to kind of compare. Purple Orca Squad Sabretooth? No. Absolutely not. What's up, Jared Punch? How you doing? Rebecca beat the smoke person. Yeah, that was Brittany. Yeah, she beat her by herself. If Noelle and Dorothy could defeat 1/3 Megicula, I would have called it Cap. She's too broken for multiple reasons. Yeah, that's one of the things too. And we need I bet, like, there's no way Dorothy is an arcane. Like, it'd be really weird if Dorothy was an arcane. But just based off of what we've seen, Dorothy doesn't have the same level of durability. I feel like if she's not, like, she's clearly way more powerful than Rill, but I feel like an attack that would completely demolish Rill would completely demolish Dorothy, just based off of Dorothy's, like, design. She's not a character I would assume can take a lot of damage. Like, her fighting style isn't made to really take damage. She's small. She's a long-range caster. I don't really see her getting hit by the same things that, like, people like Yami or Jack or like Asta. Anybody that clearly has shown they can take a beating. I don't think Dorothy would be like that. Urza fights Akune instead of Yoko. How does she do? Legitimately, it would come down to if she knows about Diamond Effect, because Diamond Effect is the scariest aspect of Hakune. Hakune has some good abilities, but if Diamond Effect gets on you, you're fucked. Because it just completely shuts off your powers. Like, it just completely shuts off the power system, so, like, you can't really contend with her at that point. If she knows about it, that's one thing. It's kind of like, the difference is, Diamond Effect seems to be a fairly quick to use thing for her. Whereas, like, for Urza, if, like, you were to fight Urza as a wizard, if she whips out Nakagami armor, you're in a really fucked spot. You're in a spot to get some real damage. Like, if Urza was in a fight with another wizard, even if they were equal, and she went right to Nakagami armor, she could potentially end the fight right there. That's just one of those powers that, like, it could completely drop a fight the second that lands. And Hakune doesn't seem like to take that much effort for her to be like, all right, Diamond Effect, and yeah. So Urza versus Hakune would be so down to selective moments, whereas Urza, like, if Urza can get some, like, heavy attacks on Hakune, then I think she'll do fine. Because Hakune never did anything that was, like, that outrageous in terms of her combat capability. Like, she definitely was strong, and she has some good hacks, but nothing that would seem like she is, like, could, like, contend as, like, a one-on-one fighter for Urza. She just has really dangerous hacks. After a while, I'm not angry about Asta entering the battle against Megicula. Yeah, I feel like it's just people being worried. I feel like a good chunk of people being worried about, like, where it could go. Yeah, I guess the easiest way to be a Dragon Slayer is buy Lacrima. No, because that's expensive. The easiest way in reality to probably become a Dragon Slayer would be learning it from a book. Like, if you found out a book from it, because Lacrimas are expensive. Who knows how you would even find one. Getting dragon meat super difficult as well. Good luck finding a dragon and then convincing him to teach you. Whereas we know, like, Elosari was self-taught, and similar to Sharia, like, she became a god slayer by learning it from a book. She got a book, and she was able to figure out the information from it to become a god slayer. And you should be able to do that relatively with any magic in Fairy Tail, so dragon slaying as well, and we have Eleftheria, no dragon teacher, he was self-taught, so it would make sense to be the easiest one in theory. Unless you're rich and have a lot of connections, then I guess a Lacrima is like your style. I thought the moment where the oceans had a group chat was funny. I like that too. I really like moments like that where it can really humanize a character. Why do you think Toriko hasn't sustained its notability like other series have finished? Like, Toriko had a really, like, set fan base. Like, Toriko was weird because, like, it was popular in Japan. Obviously, it was falling off near the end, but, like, Toriko was never that big, like, in the West. Like, I knew Toriko fans, but I never knew, like, anything like how, like, Black Clover has, like, its own community on like, different platforms. As far as I can remember, there was never anything like that for Toriko, at least from the interactions that I had. I'm sure there were some, but not doing the same kind of, like, easily out in the open area, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I was doing, like, YouTube stuff back then. I mean, back then, that would have been, like, 8 years ago. I mean, that's not that bad. I would have been, like, 18, but at the same time, like, my whole setup wouldn't have been the same. It would have been, like, just thinking about it, it would have been, like, me on, like, a shitty laptop. And like, an old dusty setup. That would have been sick, though. Man, it'd be weird, though. I wonder how, like, big my YouTube channel would be, like, back, if I went for that long. Just, not off of quality content, but, like, consistent content, and just kind of, like, the long game. I probably would have a good amount. Guessing, at least. I don't know. I have no fucking idea. I do miss Toriko, though. But, like, yeah, like, Yu Hakusho has out of all these, I'd say the most. Because Full Metal definitely has a cult following. Inuyasha has, like, a weird cult following, too, but, like, I never see them, but, like, they're very consistent. It's really strange. Like, they always exist, but, like, I never hear from them. But at some point, I'll just see, like, Inuyasha fans pop up and then go quiet again. But Yu Yu Hakusho has the benefit of being like a really, like, one of those anime series that, like, a lot of people, like right now, like, a lot of, like, more seasons, no, I don't want to say season, but kind of like people like me, like I'm 26. I watched Yu Yu Hakusho initially when it was, like, on Cartoon Network and stuff, like, way back in the day, and it was one of the first, it's also one of the first more serious animes I think a lot of people saw, because, like, I mean, I love Yu-Gi-Oh, but, like, the Yu-Gi-Oh dub is not something that I would, like, think is, like, that serious of a series. Like, if it was the sub, that's a different story in the manga. But, like, stuff like that, Pokemon, and, like, Dragon Ball was probably, like, that first step out of there as well, but, like, Yu Yu Hakusho was a lot more serious than Dragon Ball, and I think it just stuck with a lot more people. Like, it had that kind of just, like, very standout presence that will last way more than your break. It's kind of like how Chainsaw Man, even though Chainsaw Man is a completely different breed of wild, Chainsaw Man stands out so much compared to all the other Shonen Jump series because it's nothing like any of the other ones. And, like, being so left field different doesn't always work out for you, but clearly sometimes it does. Like, I'm willing to bet, like, 10 years from now, there's gonna be some, like, guys that, like, view Chainsaw Man as, like, one of their young, like lower to, like, mid-teens, like, one of their, like, more childhood animes kind of stuff. I'll get some more of these. It makes sense that Tabata had Asta appear instead of Noelle Dorothy because they couldn't have done much anything against Megicula. Yeah. I don't really know what they would do in reality against Megicula. Like I said, if this was Vonica, if this was like even like possessed Vonica, I'd be like, okay, yeah, someone like Noelle or Dorothy showing up to help Noelle. Sorry, Noelle or Dorothy to help Noelle. That like given what we already saw of Noelle, that like them added on to her would be, you know, that they would be able to like kind of like even the playing field. Megicula though, but when she just immediately started kind of wreaking havoc, but also she got hit by Gaja's ultimate magic lightning spell. And the only spell, the only things in Black Clover that are out like should like I would say like for sure are going to be more powerful than that, like Lick's Aeon Slash, and that's only like the only time we saw that was like him with no grimoire, so it should be way more powerful in reality. Demon Lick's like big attack that was going to destroy the Clover, and then probably fused. I would guess, like, to me at least, I would guess fused Lilith's attack could be stronger, but it's one of those ones where it's like she should rank higher than him in the power system, but because he literally did, oh, I'm gonna convert all my life force into mana, and it's an ultimate magic, and he's like a pure attack wizard. So it'd be like one of those things where it's like I could see that single attack of his being stronger than anything that they could do. Just one of those moves where like, you just have some method of cheating, kind of get yourself way beyond. Kind of like how Gray has like Lost Aspect if he really wants to, where he can just get this absurd multiplier that could completely body people that otherwise were more powerful than him. Maybe Asta can just keep Lolo from exploding. I hope so. Like that actually would probably be a really good way to kind of like have him there without taking all the spotlight, because as long as Lolo Petrica doesn't die, Megicula can't fully manifest. Have you seen Fairy Tail Forces Unite? What do you think about it? Wait, what? Fairy Tail Forces Unite? Is that one of the games? I don't know if I've seen it and I just see it in Japanese. Let me see. Is that the one where they have guns, or is that a phone game? Let me see. Is it a mobile game? Oh yeah, I have seen this one. I saw a clip the other day of I think it was Elfman. I think Elfman in the game doing an ability. Do you know if it's gonna be I'm trying to words right now. If they're gonna have a version like in the West, like there's an English version I'm gonna be able to play. So I'll absolutely play it if so. Like I played Dice Magic, but it wasn't in English, so I had to guess on a lot of stuff and just kind of memorize where each button led me in the Japanese version, which was really difficult. But I would really like it if they had something like an English version to play. Is it out? Let me look on the store. Let me go look on an app store and see if there's anything for Fairy Tail on there. I don't think so. I see like 7 Deadly Sins and stuff. I don't see anything about Fairy Tail. Damn it. Maybe it'll be one of those games that eventually shows up, but nothing that I can at least see right now. Unless I have to download it somewhere else. I don't know. So Georg is going to be the closest we have to weaker Acnologia. I don't think an Acnologia. I think he's like going to be like a better, like he's going to be what God Serena, like what people thought God Serena was going to be like. And if one that doesn't set himself up to get immediately killed. Oh, do you think we can get an Elisar Diabolos mystery? There could be a Diabolos mystery. Okay, why Diabolos never took the 100 Years quest from Elisaria? Well, we don't know if he sent it over in Giltina. And we don't know how old Diabolos is. I think Diabolos is more of the mystery than Elisaria's quest, like, handling on it. Because, as far as I know, maybe he only sent it to certain areas. Maybe there are only certain guilds that got the chance to even really kind of have the opportunity for it. Who knows? But as it is, I'd be willing to bet that there's, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like some weird connection between Georg and Elisaria specifically, but I don't really know if there's anything to kind of suggest that right now. Can Flame Wild Emotion Natsu content Leopold, and can Devil Grey beat Real? What? Who said that? Oh, Black Clover. Black Clover has some weird power scaling fans, man. Really strange. Like, I don't get them. I feel like half of them are trolling, or just they have no idea what they're talking about. Do you think Suzaku's Dragon Force would look cool? You know what? I was thinking about it the other day, and not like the full form, but like, do you think if he went into Dragon Force that his sword would somehow integrate into his design? Like, maybe his tail would, like, kind of, like, fuse with the sword, so he's just got a blade tail or something. And if so, that would pretty much guarantee my theory of Dragon Natsu getting his scarf integrated into the form. But, I don't know. Yeah, Hades is not coming back. What's up, Kill West? How you doing, man? Can Georg turn into a dragon like Acnologia due to dragon meat consumption? Well, I mean, all the Dragon Eaters have Dragon Force, but we know that it's not something they can just use regularly. It's not the same as any of the other Dragon Slayer Dragon Force-like states. It seems way faster, but way more uncontrolled. Can Natsu at max power defeat Suzaku? Yeah. I definitely think Dragon Force Natsu can beat Suzaku. 100%. It really sucks to be Undine. Yeah, Undine's getting, she's getting kind of screwed up a little bit. Can Shunsui defeat Ichigo? Wait, could Shunsui defeat the Ichigo that defeated Aizen? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Because, like, one thing about Bleach is, like, if you have such an overwhelming level of Ryatsu, you can just neutralize people's hacks. We saw Aizen do that to Soifone. She got the double hit with Suzumebachi, but it didn't matter. Because he just completely overwhelmed her Ryatsu with his. Alright, who of them Hades loses? Jacob Agil. I mean, he could, honestly, like, all of them but probably Silver and Kyoka. I don't think Silver and Kyoka could be. The only person I think reasonably in Tartaros that can beat Hades is Smart Gear. I don't think that they can defeat him. It's like, it'd be like Kyoka versus Zero. Like, obviously Kyoka is at a spot later, like way later in the series, but we know that Zero was definitely like high Wizard Saint level and the weakest out of the Battle Alliance Guild Masters, but there's no way that he was weaker than Kyoka, and I do not think he was weaker than Silver. What direction do you think Mishima is attempting to take Eden Zero based on the afterward? I don't know if he's going to do, like, a full, like, weird direction, but I think he's going to have, like, a key event that's going to be just very strange to happen. But I don't really know what his plan is. Like, I think it's just going to be one specific kind of, like, weird event that just completely shifts the whole tone of, like, how things are kind of directing. And maybe it'll be, like, how the battle right now with Nero's Empire is, like, seems to be pretty fair, but something happens, like Ziggy shows up and completely just starts mauling everybody. Like, imagine like all Link happens, but Ziggy does it, and then Ziggy just completely fucks up the entire cosmoses of robots, and like the Eden Zero is barely able to get out of there in time. Something like that, because they have warp travel, so like if they have like, oh, we have 5 seconds to leave, the Eden Zero just, you know, warps into a whole different area, and all the other robots in the cosmos are gone. Then something like that maybe, or at least for the most part, they get like messed with in their heads, and you could have something like maybe Xenolith is unaffected because he was he was under maintenance or something, or maybe he goes to a different body. I don't know. Like, it's a really weird one right now, just because Mishima says he's trying something he's not used to doing. I feel like it's kind of like, he's going to have something just like a weird Tartarus arc shock into how it is. And he said that, like, the arc is coming to a conclusion. I don't think it's going to be, like, 2 or 3 chapters, but I think it's like, kind of, like, in the later chunk. Which is one of the reasons I don't think we might not see the retired Oceans, because that would be another 5 fights altogether. And it's going to be weird, because I feel like it's going to be revealed, I think, in the next chunk, like, the next few weeks. I will say, like, I don't want robot legs for Becca. I feel like that'd be a really strange direction to go in. Phoenix Priestess stuff gives immortality, messes the rules of life, so why hasn't Ankh Saram involved? I think it's just a different method. I think it's just because it's a different style. Kind of like because Irene effectively figured out a way to cheat death. And looking at someone like Hades, similar as well, I think it depends on how you do it. Whereas people like Zeref and Mavis like just did it like way more outright in the open in to such a larger scale that it drew them in. Especially with what Mishima said, I see a lot of parallels between Witch now and Ace and Rain Forward. Man, if Witch dies, I'll be so saddened. Like, that'll be really bummed. Like, I'm not I'm not the biggest fan of Witch. Like, I'm not like Witch is top 5 or something, but like I don't dislike Witch to any kind. Like, she reminds me of it's like pre-Fighting Festival Mira Jane. I just enjoy her. She doesn't have to do a lot. I enjoy her character just as she is. And I'd be really bummed out if she got destroyed. I hope she doesn't. I like her. Who wins? Noelle, Lucy, or Uraka, Rukia, or Sakura? It's gonna come down to Lucy or Rukia, because Lucy is like, she's got the best moveset out of them, and she's got the best feats. Sakura's got some like weird scaling if you wanted to like do ridiculous like anime only ones that don't happen in the manga and stuff like that. But like, she's like, her fighting style literally just goes and hits hard, and she doesn't really have much else. Whereas Rukia, her whole absolute zero is hacks, but it takes time, and she's stationary the entire time. And Lucy, factually, like, say you had Lucy versus Rukia, and Rukia just used Bankai. Lucy has a cheat one-time save with hologram. So, say Rukia used Bankai, flash freezes the whole area. Lucy could literally have just completely dodged it by hologram automatically. She has a cheat one-way save. I would assume like in relatively like once a day, but I think Lucy should be fine because she's got the utility, she's got the fighting capability, she's got the feats. Like, she should honestly be able just to go into like her Stardust mix, and then Leon Maid and nuke the whole area. Speaking of gods, do you think Mother will end up being a deity? Mother's such a weird character because we have absolutely no idea where she comes from, and nobody that we've even really ran into knows anything about her. The only character that like should know anything about her realistically is going to be Xiao Mei. Like, Mother's a weird spot. I have no for sure direction of what Machine is going to do. I kind of like just the idea that she's just this, like, if her character, that she's just like this living manifestation of ether. Like, she's just this point where ether became so dense, it gained sentience, which would be really sick. You guys said Ichigo Shikai on 1,000 Year Blood was the same power as Ichigo that defeated Aizen, so probably not as Ichigo seems still far more powerful than Shinsui. I mean, what did he really do that would kind of make it comparable, though? I'd have to go back and look at that chapter, because I don't remember that statement. I'd have to go back and look, because like, legitimately I do not remember. I'd like to see magma, lava, volcano, anything Dragon Slayer. That'd be pretty sick. Some molten Dragon Slayer just got like lava everywhere. Well, right now, Fairy Tail Hunter's Quest will be no longer than 200 chapters. We have no idea. Because right now, we're already 19 chapters or so, or 20 chapters or so into Celine's arc, and Alderaan was only, what, 26? Like, if you count the last chapter, it was like the Dromio Banquet, it's like 26 chapters. We're already almost that far in with Celine. So, not entirely sure where it's going to really lay out, and like what Mishima is going to do, because I personally think that this arc is going to be way longer than Alderaan's arc, is because he's had Celine be way more active. We've had a lot of just general presence of Celine, but we still don't know much about her yet. We still don't have a lot of information about her. And she's set up to have stuff found out about her and like her motives and stuff. Whereas like Alderaan, really, we didn't have to get a lot from Alderaan because his character was very easy to understand in this, this old ancient dragon who had to pretty much hide for centuries after, trying to fight Aknologi at one point. And we already knew how dragons like him behaved. We knew how he had this general kind of like perception of himself. And I think Mishima did a really good job with that with his humanoid form, because the humanoid forms are something they choose. Their dragon forms are what they actually look like, whereas like the forms they take as more and more humanoid is something that they themselves decide to craft. Celine decides to make herself really tall, whereas Alderaan decided to not make himself really look human, but he decided to have a crown, so he clearly thought very highly of himself. And we saw that further demonstrated when he would generally just kind of talk about himself. Lucy would just copy them. That's one of the things, too. Like, Lucy has way too good of a moveset, and right now she can summon all of her spirits at once, so she could just be able to overwhelm them, no problem. Because, like, imagine if Lucy just decided to, like, summon all of her keys, have them go out, and then have Gemini turn into her, and then while they're doing their stuff, she just pops Aronometria and like completely takes them all out. Something interesting about Mashal, when Wahlberg was thinking about the generation, he thought of Otter instead of Rhymes. I have to go back and look. So, because Rhymes is the sword guy, right? I don't remember who Otter is. I don't have all the names as memorized. I've read through Mashal like twice, so I don't have every single character memorized. I probably have maybe, I'd say half is generous. Wait, I read this one. Rex, both Iron Instinct and Quan agree that Gray is Cap. Why do you defend? What do you mean? What is Cap about Gray? If you want to say the Mira Jane thing, like I said, it makes no sense. I don't even really want to go into it right now. Like, it makes literally zero sense. It's like trying to argue that Urza is stronger than Natsu because, like, Natsu will still be afraid of her because it's the character perspective of how people like Natsu and Gray view people like Urza and Mira Jane. Whereas Natsu is so much more powerful than Urza, and Gray is not only more powerful than Mira Jane, but he counters her. And to say that Gray could lose to Mira Jane is saying Mira Jane is stronger than the E&D that Gray fought, which makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever. And I do not think that's the case. And even Scoleon took Gray way more seriously. It makes no sense. I'm not going to go any further into it. Anybody who says that is clearly just either trolling or has no idea what they're talking about. Because the Dragon Eaters gain powers by eating devils. I don't think so. I don't think it would work the same. Because like all the other types, they really just have the one, like God slaying, demon or devil slaying. There's 5 different known types of dragon slayers of like their different generations. Thoughts on Noah's justification for putting E0 through hell in order to defeat Drac and Joe? That made sense. Like he's looking at them as these are the people that are, you know, they have the potential to do it. It's not going to be easy, but they got to do it, and like he's got to do everything he can to do it. Right, kings and guards have been in Hunter x Hunter. What's your opinion? Wait, what? I mean, that's just a normal thing. I was more of like how in the whole idea of like it's set way more of, oh yeah, the upcoming king is bringing his new guard of like people like in his generation, and then like the older generation comes back at some point of like, you know, the previous ruler. Can Asta remove Undin's curse? I don't think so. I don't think he can mess with that the same way, because then he could just undo stuff like Weg, stuff like stuff like Narrow. He should be able to fix Narrow, and he was able to neutralize the exploding. Was it the living explosion or whatever it's called, living bomb curse or whatever? I don't think it's the same, because other it's like people like Charlotte, people like Henry. Their whole curse backstories, like that trait to their character would effectively just be on like a when does Asta have time to completely neutralize it. Yeah, Gray completely claps Mira Jane. It's not even a competition. Where do you think victory is? Where would victory be? Honestly, I feel like victory would be like out just kind of like either in a ship in the like the big fray of things, or he's going to be fighting just general people. Like he's going to be out like on the ground. Actually, what if he fights Goodwin? You have Victory in his big giant form versus Goodwin, who's just this big ass cat. To be honest, I don't really ship Homura with anyone. Well, initially, a lot of people were shipping Homura with Wise, but Wise, it looks like instead his ships with Hermit, so Homura's in a weird spot. How do people get ether gear? I mean, there seems to be a way of just kind of like generally, kind of like, what was it that Witch said? It was like kind of like soothing the ether in your body and kind of drawing it out, and eventually you seem to kind of just obtain like an ether gear or be taught it by somebody else. I think there's like this weird, almost like natural way just to kind of obtain it, but also like somebody who already knows how to do it can probably teach it to you way easier. I'd be willing to. I would bet and assume that was the case, because at least as of right now, it seems to be the standard. Because like ether gear, we know about ether gear and like aspects about it, but we don't have a whole lot of like large scale information. And that was one of the things that Quan and I both were a little bit in about when it came to Rebecca getting her ether gear so quickly. Is the whole setup of seeing her obtain it was one of the things we really wanted, just to know like how exactly do the steps all work. Mira fans know that she can't beat Urza, so they jump on Gray. Instead, it's crazy. Yeah, but it's like Gray can... absolutely defeat her. Gray does better against Mirror Jane than Urza would against Mirror Jane. How would Suzaku fare against Yuhabak? He doesn't have any way to kill him. I mean, he could definitely damage him, but, like, Yuhabak is, like, he's just going to regenerate or heal, or he's going to, like, mess with time. The only way I would imagine that you could just, like, defeat Yuhabak without shutting off his power, if you killed him in a way that didn't give him the opportunity to use the Almighty. Like, if you somehow completely erased him, or kind of like if you killed him so fast he couldn't think. Like, if you did it so fast that he couldn't even process what happened. That's the only way I could really see it, because, like, his level of turnaround and his hacks with the Almighty and stuff is obviously completely different than something of just, like, healing. Personally, I think he should be, like, Suzaku, I think, should just be faster than him. Because, like, Yuhabak never had any really crazy speed feats. Like, he had some good ones against, oh my god, how am I on against, crap, how am I forgetting his name? It's really bothering me. Oh my god, how am I forgetting his name? I know, Zero Division. This is gonna bother me because it's gonna be really obvious. Ichibe. God, man, yes. He had some good feats there, but, like, we didn't see anything really speed-wise after that. Like, it was mostly just on, like, the super hacks that he had with Almighty, and then gaining the Soul King's power. Like, it'd be weird. It'd be like watching someone like Saitama fight somebody like Zagrid, where it's like you have like a guy who just has, like, really high level of, like, raw speed and hacks and power and stuff. But it wouldn't really matter against a guy who just, like, would just hacks them into oblivion if they can get the chance. Do you think we could see the 18 battle see Akuma? I would hope so. I mean, we've seen 2. We've got 2 of them. Either we can get like, our best bet is, like, if we got a character who just starts throwing them at somebody. Like, every page he just chucks another one. Like, the Akuma are still such a mystery. We barely know anything about them. I mean, she gave them their own language. I'm fine with Hamura being with anyone in the entire verse besides Creed's lame ass. Creed hasn't done anything, though. The White Priest or any other White Mage make Aetherius angels. You should be able to theoretically make an angel Aetherius if you know Living Magic. Because Living Magic, you're creating life. You're creating something out of raw ether. Or ether nano, rather, to be more precise. Yeah, it would just be up to your own design, how you know, if you figure out exactly how to do it, how you design the character, how you design this being that you have forged. How do you feel about Asta having a support role in the Megekyo fight? I mentioned that. I would like that. I think it would be cool because it would give him a cool tag team with Noelle, but it wouldn't take away from Noelle in the spotlight. Anything that makes Noah and Shiki's relationship interesting is Shiki has Satan ether, or Satan gravity, and Noah has God's eyes, so they end up being the ones that survive in the future. I would assume so. Did they confirm everybody that died? I feel like Wise would have been fine. Or actually, yeah, Wise dying, it would be such a weird spot at, like, based off of, like, where he's at now, because his power is so flexible. I don't know why he wouldn't be able to just easily devise a way to exit whatever situation. It's kind of like Celine. Like, Celine, in reality, like, anytime that she would want to leave, she could leave. Whereas Wise could possibly as well, as long as he could figure out a way to do it with technology around him. My dragon race is divided between 4 sections: real dragons, dinosaurs, sea serpents, worms, and dragon knights. Dinosaurs? That's neat, though. Are you going to go with, like, more traditional dinosaurs, or, like, the ones that have feathers? Imagine having Ice Devil Slayer and Magma Devil Slayer, like, admirals in one piece. I don't know if we'll get Magma. Like, I feel like if Mishima was going to do more devils, like Devil Slayers, he would probably, like, if he picks an element, I feel like he would probably go for one that's a little less common. Like, in my head, like, I'd like something kind of like Iron. Like, if we got another Metal Slayer. Or Lightning. I know we had Orga, but, you know, it'd be easy to kind of, like, slide in one more Lightning person. Everyone likes Lightning. You know, stuff like that. Metal, to me, would probably be the coolest one. What's up, Telehim? How are you, man? Like the stream? Thank you. Ironclad, you're the one being a little sus, my guy. What do you feel about Natsu versus August? Natsu should do fine now. And, like, prior to his fight, or prior to the Dragon Force, it was kind of like, I would definitely say August is more powerful, but if Natsu can beat August with Dragon Force up, then absolutely you should do fine. Whereas, outside of that, I don't really see him defeating August. The form that he had against Merphobia, definitely, like, he completely demolishes August, no problem whatsoever. Feel like there's another enemy beyond Ziggy? Maybe, I don't know. Like, just based off of, like, where Ziggy exists in the story, I don't know if we could have a character above Ziggy. Just because of the fact that Ziggy already was, like, top dog at one point in time, and that, like, how he connects to Shiki just makes me feel like he's gonna be the main one. What's up, Gene? How are you doing? That's right, if you're late, Gene, how are you? Chapters a 5 out of 10? For what? What series? Raya with Dark Magic Spell would be useful in this arc. Yeah, I mean, I was saying, like, what if you just had Rades get to know William and Yami enough that, like, you could cut the tree, kill them, and then he would have that auto-revive that he brought Sally and Valtos back, and then, bam, they're fine. Damari's a farmer, and I guess she's living a happy life. Is there anyone in Black Clover more durable? Wait, more durable than Happy? No. And I know there's been some people who get a little salty about it, but the thing is, Happy legitimately was withstanding Natsu's Fire Dragon King flames, and that was not just a normal one, that was off of Enigmial power. And, like, factually, and I know it's weird because, like, Happy's not a fighter. Happy is two things. He's always shown speed, and he's durable. Speed just because, like, the Exceed have always shown to be fast, and Happy's just been in lots of fights because he fights with Natsu a lot. Like, he's not the one that directly in combat, but he's gotten hit by attacks, and he's withstood them and kept going. That's something that Happy has always been able to consistently display since the start of the series. Can Nakagami armor stop the diamond effect? Well, diamond effect is spiritual art, so no. Diamond effect, like, everything that Hakuni is using is spiritual arts. If Wendy was there, then yes, because Wendy could enchant Superior into her stuff, and then she could use Superior into her general moves, and then it'd be fine. How do you think full power E&D would be? I assume he'd be on level with I think that Natsu, like, the form we saw when he fought Merphobia, like, if we see that full power, I think it'll be on par, if not stronger, than Space Between Timac and Logia. If I woke up with TMR with superpowers from anime, I swear I wouldn't commit genocide. Wait, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, like, rape the world? What are you talking about, man? Ironclad, you need to calm down, my guy. Yeah, and you're definitely getting the most sus here. I'm thinking Jacob the Brigand is underrated. Natsu couldn't overpower him. I mean, Natsu, once he actually got, like, a serious hit on him, he took Jacob out, like, not a lot of difficulty. Obviously, he went in Fire Dragon King mode, but relatively, I'd say, like, upper middle level of difficulty. But that's because Jacob's an assassin. Jacob can fight, but he is, like, all of his better powers are not designed for heavy infighting. Have you seen leaked images of Vegeta's new form? The no eyebrow Vegeta? The no eyebrows are weird to look at. I do not know why he went with the no eyebrows. It's a little strange, but I like even though, like, the meme of, like, the fact that all the forms are now just recolors, I think the purple looks kind of cool. Like, if that is the true color, I'm like the whole thing of, like, people saying, like, it's probably purple just based off God of Destruction stuff makes sense to me. So I'd be okay with that. I do think the no eyebrows thing is really strange. You like shows incredible manga. I didn't like the last arc. I did like the Dark Tournament. I thought Dark Tournament, like, Chapter Black, were really cool. What villain do you like the most in... Wait, what? What villain did you like the most in Invincible Season 1? I mean, probably Omni-Man. I feel like that's the obvious pick. Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho was one of the first shows you watched. That was one of the things. That was, like, a lot of the people that are in that area of, like, when anime became... Like, the people right now that were in that area when anime was becoming way more regular of a thing, but it hadn't got to, like, now where it's, like, mainstream. Like, when it was still, like, something that a lot of people made fun of. Like, would make fun of you for liking. Yu Yu Hakusho was one of those ones where it was, like, probably amongst their first ones to see. Stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball, you know, things like that, like Naruto, Digimon. With Inuyasha, people try to make it out to be some romance-heavy series, but it's just as many fights as other shonen. Yeah, I don't think I've never talked to anybody that thought it was just a romance series. Alright, theory for All for One will arrive at Class 1A fight to get Deku at his weakest. No way that happens. If that happened, then like everybody there is screwed. If Chainsaw, isn't Chainsaw Man Sunny? No, Chainsaw Man is a shonen, but like he pushes Chainsaw Man to like at, like the threshold of shonen. Everything he can do to keep it still shonen, but be weird about it. I don't like Asta showing up, but I understand really is the only way that they could have done anything to Decaying World. Yeah, exactly. Like that, Megicula gave it the scenario where it kind of was required. Have you been watching One Piece anime lately? I haven't. I don't. Well, I watch clips. I see the clips on Twitter. Like that's really the most of what I watch for One Piece. I like how Gaja's ultimate magic is just the big fuck anyone in the general direction spell. It's just a big lightning blast. Nothing too crazy about it. Yami spells would be powerful, which is why Raya is needed. Yeah. So evidently, since reputation has really plummeted because of the last arc, and that anime is really unfortunate. Yeah. It'll be fine though. Forensic Apocalypse has been good. Shiki from Monster Hunter. Storm is a far better Dragon Slayer than Acnologia. What do you mean? Acnologia drove an entire planet of creatures that ruled the world as the by far dominant race to near extinction. Ironclad, you're starting to get in there. I might have to time you out if you're going to start trolling, man. You know, you had a lot of sussery in this chat so far. The Asta absorb Natsu's fire. Can Asta briefly get a Dragon Slayer attack? Do you mean like if he absorbed the Demon Dweller? Yeah, he would shoot it back. It would have the same magic properties, I would assume. What's my favorite DBZ video game opening? Yeah, Budokai 3 is probably the best one. Like, that whole opening is fantastic. Do you see the Shining Stars dying by the end of the series being replaced with new people? I'm perfectly honest, like, I would say, like, if any of them, it would be Witch, and the one, I don't think Homura is going to die, and I do not want Hermit to die. The problem right now, if it was Sister, is then they wouldn't have a healer, so I feel like Witch is, like, the only logical one that if they did get rid of another Shining Star, it would be Witch. I don't know, though. It'd be really strange. Zero was strong. It means Zankro laughed when he said not to beat Zero and Jalal, and I thought Power Clip works. No, no, absolutely not. But the thing is, Natsu beat them with Dragon Force. He didn't just walk up and punch him down. He beat Jalal with Dragon Force, and he beat Zero with Jalal's level of magic into him as Dragon Force. Jalal is still a Wizard Saint. He was one of the better Wizard Saints. He was easily more powerful than someone like Urza, and Urza would have ran a train on Zankro. Zankro just likes to talk a lot of shit. Mimi is Fairy Tail Sakura? No, she's not. She's, I mean, like, the thing is, like, Mimi has a more respectable display than Sakura. I'm not gonna lie. You think Hiro could have handled Haru coming back to life at the end of the race? I mean, he didn't die, though. He wasn't dead. He got saved by a Stellar Memories. Like, he never died. I thought it was fine. It made sense. I think absorbing an anti-magic sword is a bit too dangerous. Anti-magic isn't magic anyway. Maybe Gajo, but why Natsu? What do you mean? I didn't say anything about Natsu. Gajo can eat the swords just fine. Gajo's eaten anti-magic. He's canonically done that. And, like, that version is actually way more dangerous than... I know it's like, you know... Well, I guess they're both different. Like, neither of them are magic. So it's like you could kind of compare them to a somewhat similar field between like the whole devil particles and, you know, Asta's anti-magic, but factually the devil particles are more dangerous because Black Clover anti-magic, like, depending on how it's used, it can kill people, but for the most part it's just going to be canceling out magic. Like, you can completely throw as much anti-magic in someone's general direction, and if you're not turning it into like a blade or you're not using it in a way that is going to kill them, it's just going to pretty much just be like it's going to be like a big wave of just magic cancel, whereas devil particles kill you. You'll get poisoned, you'll die. And look at him right there. He should be fine. If he can eat that, then I don't see really the problem with him eating Asta's swords. Rexurili's Pinot is dead in the dark future. Yeah, a lot of those, like, side ones. Everyone's getting marked. How Lucifer against Unohana from Bleach? She should be fine. Like, legitimately, the thing like Unohana is strong. The thing that makes me sad, because it fucks over Unohana, is we have no idea what her Bankai does. No idea. She just is, like, she's just powerful. And it's like, she's a fighter. She's obviously, like, way more experienced than Lucy, but Lucy just scales higher. She's got way better of a moveset. And the fact that we don't know what Unohana's Bankai does. Like if we knew what it does, and it was like some weird acid blood decaying thing, then she would, she would just get Lucy before Lucy could get to a spot that would really deal with her. Assuming that she goes Bankai. But she doesn't have, like, we don't know what her best thing does. It's like using Ichigo. Like, we don't know what Ichigo's Bankai really does, like his real Bankai, whatever its ability is. So it's like mainly, like, just his raw power scale. And then he's got, like, Gran Reisero, but, like, that's it. He doesn't really have anything that big to kind of utilize in a fight that kind of turns the tables. Like, a lot of characters, when they get big, they'll have, like, a Hax that is, like, it's like a trump card, essentially. Like, think of, like, Magnus Soul Chain. Whereas, like, Ichigo didn't have that. We only got hyped and hinting that it was supposed to be a big deal. So Mother would be, like, an Endless, but not evil. Well, Endless is a construct of time and memories. Endless is essentially a white blood cell of time. Whereas, like, if Mother is, like, how, like I said, it'd be, like, just so much energy in one area that eventually it just kind of, like, gains sentience or, like, something like that. Who knows? A cosmic being would be really cool if she just maybe was, like, some weird alien race or something. Name the one Smile and Fairy Tale you want to protect. Oh, I would say definitely, like, someone like Wendy. Wendy, to me, has probably one of the saddest backstories in the series, just because it like, Urza's backstory, I think, is sadder in terms of, like, overall events, but Wendy's would be way more of a mindfuck. It would completely, like, it would be so weird to just know, like, figure out almost everybody that you know isn't real. It'd be really strange. Like, hers is, to me, is, like, the saddest, because it would be, like, a literal game changer to your entire life. And not in the same way, obviously, like Urza leaving the tower and stuff, but it'd be like a full reset to everything you had known for pretty much, like, because Wendy was like 5 when she got there, so essentially, like, all of her memories up until that point of her existence would just be completely null. It'd be cool if Suzaku goes Dragon Force. Yeah, but it would really depend, because, like, right now we know that they can't, like, 5th gen can't just use Dragon Force, like, regularly. I think that's why Mishiva gave him that really OP, his whole Abyss Black Blade Slash, because that's kind of, like, his thing to use. Like, Natsu can use Dragon Force, but, like, the second Dragon Force runs out, Natsu's pretty much done. He's out of magic. There's nothing he can really do. Seems to be the same case for Suzaku. Remember the face Gray made when Silver said that he was Diller? Yeah, dude, that was sick. And then at the end, when you saw that, like, white eyes and veins popping out. Origin of the Hunters makes first appearance in Yu Hakusho as they were sent out to hunt out demons. What do you mean? Just, like, demon hunters? Like, that's a thing in, like, stories since, like, always. Like, people who hunt monsters and stuff. Endless versus pre-revealing time Akinogi. Akinogi eats him. Akinogi would just eat Endless. That factually what would happen. He would just chomp on him. And Couchpo will get an Ether Gear. Maybe. That could be a really cool way to take her character, because I do want to know just, like, general ways of obtaining Ether Gear. Like, training it's one thing. Like, is that just like, oh yeah, you can just train it like the same method essentially as any power, but I do want to know how you get it. Because in Fairy Tail, essentially, you just have to figure out how a magic works and have magic, and then you just can, eventually, like, utilize your magic to forge it into whatever process to be, like, the same style. I have no idea where Hero's taking Couchpo as a character. She's like she's weird because she's like a silly character, but she's like a silly character that's still grounded as, like, a regular person. Like, she's like, I say silly character because it's like she's not a gag character. She's not like she's not like Moscow, or she just is like kind of like a goofy person, but she's still a regular person. Whereas, like, you get her in a spot and she's like, hey, I gotta check you. Like, I have to make sure, like, people are staying normal. She, like, a slightly more serious Ichiya. I think Sally Votus and Radi's roles will be in this arc. No idea. Because right now, so far, Tabata hasn't anything with them. Yeah, Ichibe. I was forgetting his name, but it's like weird because he's like the one he's like the only one that like I talk about out of the Zero Division. And at any point, like if I was gonna say anything about him, and somehow I forgot his name. Quan has given his thoughts on Inzero lately. Yeah, he said he really likes where the arc is at right now. He says it's hype. Moscow pushes button, he'll transform in Handsome Boy. I really like the idea of him having a combat mode. How would the Grand Magic Game arc Wendy do against Soul Society arc Toshiro? Toshiro would win. Like, he has that... The one statement that I think justifiable because he's a captain, how, like, he's got, like, a 7 square mile radius of his Bankai's effect. Plus, he's got Keto. Plus, he's got more knowledge and fighting experience. And, like, Wendy in Grand Magic Games was, like, where she was just starting to get to the point where she was, like, capable of fighting on her own. If these are, like, the Dragon Force Wendy that fought against Easel, I think she can take Toshiro. But Grand Magic Games arc Wendy... Well, Soul Society arc Toshiro, before someone corrects me. Not like, current Toshiro. But, yes, Grand Magic Game Wendy, I don't think so. People are calling Season 5 My Hero garbage because they moved to My Villain. Yeah, that's just My Hero, folks. They like to complain and get upset. They're always getting salty about stuff. That's just something they do for some reason. Saitama can't survive a Hakai. No, he's just raw power. He's just very physically strong. We'll have the problem, so I'm not blaming them. Wait, what problem? What are you talking about? Paragro Moscow is the... Wait... Ironclad, dude. I know it's you, Nevs. Do I need to give you a chat timeout? Ichigo has to be planet level because he cut through Yaku as numerous times, who destroyed souls. That was after he got weakened, though. He had the Still Silver Arrow completely shut down his power system. Some people think it's far better. Yeah, speculation on some aspects, because like the thing is, Burn the Witch completely kind of messed with that whole setup to where there seems to be different kind of like variations of pretty much the Soul Society, but it's like set for countries, which would explain why the Serete is like the size of a country. Because I think that makes more sense because we've seen it, and it's like, do they think that it's just like everything beyond that is just like a planet of forest and like open areas and like uninhabited territory? Whereas like with Hueco Mundo, outside of Los Noches and Baragon's like little area, it was just like wandering hollows. They didn't have stuff like structures and cities and stuff. Whereas I did, because like, could you imagine being in Bleach and being in the Soul Society and you'd rather live in one of like the ghettos rather than just kind of go out in the woods, make yourself a house and just live out there? Because like, it still could be dangerous, but it's like you probably have a... You would have to be really unlucky, I think, just to run in some random hollow. Because the only people outside of, like, that general area was, like, crap, what was her name? How am I forgetting? Ginjo's sister, Kikaku Shiba. Like, the Shiba clan are the only ones that really seem to kind of, like, live outside, like, in the outskirts. And they're not even, like, far off from, like, the Soul Society. He shot himself in the foot when he made 18 Battle Gods. Well, the thing is, like, they're not vital. It's not like they're like a big point. I wouldn't say he shot himself in the foot. It's just kind of like a weird setup because he gave him 18 specifically and not like, oh, it's one of the battle gods, so we don't know how many there are. But he specifically said 18. But it's like none of them, like Ikusa Tsunagi was powerful, but it's not like he's not somebody that would be like unbeatable. Like so far the 18 battle gods, none of them that we've seen seem like they're like, if one shows up, it's a game changer. Where, at least for the main cast, like, you could easily have a spin-off and then have someone who could summon, like, a couple of them, and they could still be, like, even as powerful as Ikusa Tsunagi, and you'd still be a threat to certain characters, but not be a threat to, you know, obviously it's not going to be a threat if it pops up to someone like Natsu or Greyers or anybody. Inzero episode 15 is the best episode yet. I saw the scene of Shiki beating up on Jamilov. I thought that was pretty sick. You need similar spiritual pressure to hurt someone in Bleach. Bleach, I would say, like, the one where it's like you can't, like, when you saw Ishigo's sword not even cut into Kenpachi, I thought that one was a little weird, but yeah, you know, like, it's a very like, Ryotsu is a huge, like, it's a huge factor in Bleach. It's one of the bigger factors because if you're so overwhelmingly more powerful than somebody else, then they can't even do anything to you. They don't even have access, unless they would have, like, a certain hacks. And it would have to be something super busted, kind of like Ichibe when he was going to use his Bankai. outside of stuff like that, I don't really know what a lot of the characters really would do. I'm close to being caught up. Like, I've been relatively caught up. We're already hour 40 in the stream, so I got good timing. I haven't made. I don't like it when I make too short of streams, just because I don't know. It feels a little odd. I feel like between like right now, like hour 40 to 2 hours is like a really solid set of time. Mercephobia arc was 24. Sort of. I feel like the first couple chapters, if you really wanted to count it, you could or you couldn't, just because it was like first few were kind of introduction into the 100 Years quest itself. But yeah, I mean, still around that. Whereas like Alderaan was 26, and I think Celine's is definitely going to be way more than that. I think she's going to be like a good 40 plus. Because like the difference between, like even the part where Mercephobia was talking about Celine, the difference between her and then him and Alderaan is Alderaan like just got up, and the way that Alderaan worked is they beat him through mechanics of how his powers worked, whereas Mercephobia, like, he wasn't in full control, and Celine's completely fine. She has all of her bearings, she has all of her abilities and all of her power. Nobody's going to do anything to really hinder that aspect of her. It's really just going to come down to like what we saw in the last chapter, where it's going to depend on her mindset and really where she takes things. The Italian Eden crew, do you see the entire Eden Zero crew fighting against Ziggy? I mean, if like as of right now, I think it would require that versus like end series. No. Okay, so we've already got a Lightning God and Dragon Slayer. We got Iron Dragon Slayer and a Dragon Festival Diamond. Wait, and in Dragon Festival, a Diamond Dragon Slayer, but from Liquid, we only have water and doesn't, which hasn't shown up. Well, originally Wendy was going to be a water dragon slayer, but that didn't stick. Obviously, switching over to Sky, but like we haven't got a whole lot from him in the series. I don't know. Mishima hasn't done a whole lot with water, like outside of like Julia and stuff. Like we don't get a ton of. Like, we don't get a ton of water people, like, to be perfectly honest. Name your top 3 Eden Zero side characters, not counting anyone in the Eden Zero crew. Justice, Drac and Joe, and... who'd I probably, even though he hasn't really done anything, I really like Clown. I think he's cool. Or is it Joker? I think it's Clown, right? The Clown dude in Ziggy's crew. I don't think he's even had a line yet, but I think he's cool. I like his design. He's got a really sick power, I would assume. Wouldn't Patri launching an attack across the Clover Kingdom make him country level? Well, it wasn't the whole Clover. It was like most of the Clover, probably like 2/3 of it. It looked like it took up, the capital and the everything outside of like the Forsaken Realm and stuff. So I would assume somewhere around 2/3. But it's something he had to stockpile, so it's not like... It's something he can do. It's not something he can kind of just do at the drop of a hat. It's something he needs prep time to do. Current Marillion dropped into Fairy Tail from the beginning. How far do you think she could get in a gauntlet? It depends. Is she fighting... You mean it's like she fighting just through a general line? Because I don't know if she could beat Jalal, to be perfectly honest. Like, Jalal, like, if he just hits her with Grand Chariot, I think she's gonna like, bloodied up. But, because, like, the thing is, like I said, someone like Jalal or Zero, in terms of, like, like, if you were gonna try and, like, look into the numbers for some of their feats, they aren't as, like, crazy big, but they have the scaling to really kind of place them up. Because Jalal was factually a very well-placed Wizard Saint, and it took his level of magic on Natsu to defeat Zero. So people like them, absolutely, I think, are a threat. So, like, I would say... Oh, because she has no way of beating the Dorna Anum, to be perfectly honest. Like, I think regardless of if she can get past Jalal, there's absolutely zero chance she gets past the Dorna Anum, because she can't hurt it at all. Do you see the Eden Zero crew? Wait, I read this one. I mean, let me get caught up with the chat, because we're a little short of 2 hours, so I'll probably call it good soon. You like Zenkro's character? I think most people liked him. He's really cool.
I mean, he had a really sick design. He had cool magic. He was the first one to really fight Yami Ultimate Magic. Can you imagine? Yami Ultimate Magic. This is the way that I would want it to be. Like legit, I would like Yami's Ultimate Magic. Imagine he just like his sword turns pitch black and he stabs his sword into the ground. Like he literally just kind of like lunges it in the ground, and it's just like this big, like imagine like this big AOE like of just spreading dark, like this ground for like a whole mile, like a mile of a circle turns black. And then it's just this explosion of dark magic. It's just this big AoE attack. Because Yami doesn't have any general, like, large-scale attacks. His is way more for... Like, his magic is way more set into comboing. Like, the biggest thing about Yami's magic is his spells do really well to combo together. So, I think him getting some form of kind of just, like, obviously ultimate magic being your biggest move. Something like that, like some just big trump card all-in fuck damage would be really cool. And plus, like, because of the way that we know, like, how dark magic works, it could be like, oh yeah, it also consumes the magic, so it's like you can't defend it against it regularly. So it's like if you don't have the durability to be able to tank it just based off of your own physical body, then you're gonna get fucked. All for one would Baby Shake class right? I mean, obviously, yeah. Do you feel that Tabata's inconsistent schedule as of late? I think he's just working really hard and he needs to take some more breaks. It's just because he's overworking himself. We know Tabata doesn't like to take breaks. Personally, I legitimately really wish he would meet Mishima and Mishima could show him how to like draw way faster. Mishima didn't take any breaks for 20 years and he never put out an unfinished chapter. And there'd be weeks where he would just put out double chapters. And then for those who weren't around during like the beginning of the Tartarus arc, the three chapters that ended the Grand Magic Games and the 3 chapters that opened in the Sun Village, those were 2 weeks. There were 2 weeks where he put out 3 chapters each. I remember those days. Those are a really hyped set of 2 weeks. Like Mishima could fix a lot of that problem with Tabata and just show him, I think, to balance his setup better and then draw faster. Because Mishima said when he went digital, he can finish a chapter in 4 days, no problem. My characters would place Aknologi as a public enemy number 1 for being a threat to all dragons. That makes sense. Like, he just wants to wipe them all out, yeah. Do you think there'll be a god character in Eden Zero? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much Mother. Do you think there'll be a tournament arc in Eden Zero? I would hope so. I feel like all the shonen should get a tournament arc at some point. I reckon Ragnarok's already been forgotten about because of the anime. Just like the large scale, like the regular Ragnarok fans pop off whenever a chapter comes out pretty regularly. We got a 22 chapter in Selene, Ellen arc. I would say, I wouldn't say 22, because really the first chapter is when she shows up. Because everything prior to that, like just being in Edelus and stuff, that's like transitionary period arcs. That's like counting the couple of chapters of them going to Drasil as like Alderaan stuff. I mean, you could count that. I personally wouldn't. But if you count it as like the total of it, then yeah. Kind of like how you can count the Sun Village as part of the Tartarus arc, but you can count it as its own arc. Because in reality, the Sun Village is its own mini-bit, but it's really something just to kind of be a supplementary piece going into the Tartarus arc. Kind of like how you have Avatar for Alvarez and stuff. There's a thing in Brain Soul where Ichigo's full brain Bankai made Ichigo so strong. He's a threat to balance between the human world and Soul Society. Yeah, the games usually go crazy. If you play some of the old Naruto games, like those are the ones that get really crazy too. I remember there's like some of the attacks are insane. Like there's like one where Rock Lee like punches somebody across the horizon and then follows after them to keep attacking them and stuff like that. It would just be wild. Since Yuno's form is based in the Greek gods, north and west, what kind of weapon would you like to see him wield in the show? A bow. I'm always upset of the lack of bows. Like, for some reason, all the bow users get screwed. Like, Gray hasn't... Luckily, Gray, in his match against Sukuni, did use a bow at one point. The face Gray made beats anything face has ever made, I guess. How would Ziggy... Wait, how will Ziggy make his entrance? I think he'll just show up like some like supervillain in his spaceship. I think he'll just roll in. If Magna got a soul chain on Wendy, is he winning? I think Wendy should honestly be physically stronger than him as just having a dragon body. But the question is, could Wendy just cancel it? Because I feel like Deuce Zero could honestly cancel out the soul chain. Wendy also has the elemental advantage over him as well. Because, like, Wendy's thing isn't a lot of magic. Her thing is her enchantments and, like, the utility of her magic. So, it wouldn't be the same for Magna, whereas, like, Wendy can fight up close just fine. And she's a Dragon Slayer. She can take damage just fine. And even when she doesn't have magic, she still has her Dragon Slayer body, so she's still durable. And she has the physical strength, I think, to just completely roll over Magna. Anyway, let me scroll down and kind of... Oh. What's going on, Iron Nancy? How are you? I saw you in there. Luckily, there's no ridiculous Gray Slander in here. The top 4 Spada, when they release Can't Do It in Las Noches, without destroying it. That's just one of the things I feel like in Bleach when they just overhype it. Because they used it in the Fate card of Kuritown, and nothing like that happened whatsoever. I think they had the potential to destroy it. I don't think it's like them transforming just blows up the area. Because, like, look at Ulquiorra. Like, Ulquiorra, when he used his Black Sorrow, it completely went across the top of Las Noches. And his Lanza, like, seemed to have the potential, if it hit, that it would have destroyed it. So, like, stuff like that I can see. I don't think it's literally that they just, like, go into form, they blow the place up. I think they have the potential, but it doesn't mean they automatically... I don't think they just automatically have it. And I don't know if Tia could. Like, Tia, like, Holabel, like, she got shafted pretty hard. Because at least, like, Stark had a really good display of just, like, how his power works. We didn't see a ton of it, but we got to see its general usage. And then Baragon obviously had his Respira that was just broken. Oh, John Tate, thank you for the $5 super chat, my guy. And what, in your opinion, on the lack of bows and dragons in Black Clover... Wait, what is your opinion on the lack of bows and dragons in Black Clover? I don't understand why Yuno's going to melee weapons. I wish so bad he stuck with the bow. Like, I always get salty whenever they shaft over bow users. Dragons in Black Clover, I just don't know if Tabata's going to do anything with them. Because Mishima, obviously with Fairy Tail, very dragon focused, and just like the Star Dragon Slayers and stuff, the mystery of the dragons. Whereas Black Clover's is obviously the devils, and it's gonna depend. Is the devil stuff gonna play out for the rest of the story, or are we gonna finish it up and then move on to something else? Because like after devils, if that was the case, dragons or something like that would really work. Whereas I feel like it's going to be just mainly the devils. We could get a dragon, though. But I feel like if Tabata does end up having dragons, it's going to be way more of, like, rare that there are dragons. Like, there's just not nearly as many dragons in existence as, like, say, like, Fairy Tail when dragons were a regular species. Oh, the cats are well. Hope 300 is good, since spoilers are lacking. Oh, you didn't look at the spoilers? Okay, don't look at the spoilers. The fan translation is out, but if you haven't looked at the spoilers, John Tate, you might as well wait until tomorrow. I think you might as well wait until tomorrow, man. Because all you have to do is wait, like, whatever time is at wherever time it is where you're at now, and then, and go to sleep, and then wake up, and then bam. Chapter right there. Mary Jane versus Holobell. Mary Jane completely stomps her down. Mary Jane could probably just go macro and tell her to fall asleep. I see Ziggy finishing off Shura. Yeah, if Shura tries to fight Ziggy, then Ziggy's going to go kick the shit out of him. What kind of moment do you want from Mimosa? I want Mimosa just to be useful. Like, not in a negative way, like she's not. Like, all Mimosa has to do is be a healer. Like, she just has to go around and make sure she's doing everything she can. She's not all-knowing. She's not all-powerful. She just needs to be showing that she's putting in the work. That's all I relatively care about when it comes to, like, a character's existence in an arc. You could have... like someone like Soul. We could literally not get a focus chapter on Soul. Anything on Soul that's really valuable to her character. But if it's like, if Soul was here and we see her every once in a while, like in a panel fighting against some devils and maybe saving some citizens, I would give her a thumbs up. I'd say like, yeah, you're putting in the work that you can do. Not every character is going to be Asta or Yuno or Noelle, but all of them I think have an obligation to do their job, essentially, and to do what they can for the people around them. How strong do you see characters in Black Clover be during the endgame? It's going to depend. So here's one of the things. Nancy, I will get to your super chat in a second. Let me get to this real quick. The thing about like Black Clover that's difficult to really gauge, and you can look at One Piece, or even better, Mashal right now, if you read Mashal, is it's hard to gauge end series power levels and stuff like that if you don't know what the ceiling is. Whereas, like, in One Piece, when we saw Whitebeard go out and do stuff, you understood... I gotta wait for the super chat to go through. It's got some audio there. So, like, when we saw Whitebeard go out and do his thing, we understood this is what the guy that's, like, that stands at the top of the world. This is the ceiling currently for what people are capable of. This is what the idea of, like, end series Luffy would be. Like, Luffy either getting that level or surpassing him. And then in Mashle, if you look at Mashle, we have, like, not talking about hacks, but just, like, the feats, general attack feats. We see, like, Wahlberg and stuff, like, wiping out mountains and stuff, like, making mountains look small. Like stuff like that. And you're able to say, oh, well, okay, if you were going to gauge, like, the cast members end of series, you put them around areas like this. You take whatever the powers are, kind of guess, like, how it would work at that, like, stage. It's kind of hard for Black Clover because we don't know what Black Clover's pinnacle is. Like, the highest people we have are people like Licht and Lumiere, but we never really saw Licht and Lumiere in their prime, like, go all out. We saw Lumiere against Demon Licht, but it was a short fight, and he was primarily just, like, on the defensive, trying to make sure that Licht didn't murder everybody. But we have a general idea about them, but it seems like, obviously, like, they're not the pinnacle. Like, when we have people like the top devil rulers, those guys are the peak. Those are the current ceiling of Black Clover. So it's going to depend on what we find out about them. And I know there's, like, the whole thing of, like, when they say, like, oh, if Lucifaro gets out, it's the end of the world. I don't think that means, like, he's going to just blow up the planet. I think the statement of, like, how the continent is, like, fucked, if they get to that point, that based off of what the Demon God Licht was capable of, people like Prime Lumiere and stuff were capable of, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Lucifaro could, like, just gravity pretty much smash the entire continent, just completely, like, if he wanted to press the entire thing flat. Something like that wouldn't surprise me, and it wouldn't surprise me if stuff like that was where their ceiling was. Anyway, Iron Nancy, thank you for $10 super chat. No Gray Snyder tonight, although he do still suck. He does not suck. Gray is cool, and Gray would still body smear Jane. I like Soul. My problem with Soul is sexism doesn't really make sense in Black Clover's world. Because, like, when you go back to it, obviously, like, where it is and, like, where sexism kind of stems out of in real life is, you know, you have stuff like where like, old ideas of, like, men and women, and, like, you know, guys are, like, doing way more, like, physical work, soldiers and stuff. Women are, like, way more and doing, like, at-home stuff because of gaps in, like, physical, like, the physical strength and what, like, their general... like, the general ideas of what characters would kind of place them at. Whereas that's not the case in Black Clover. It's down to magic. Like, the one guy, what was the guy? That one dude was drunk that was, like, hitting on Rebecca. But, like, say you had a character like Soul, but it's for women. It's like, dude, have you met? Like, could you imagine, like, if a character was trying to be, like, sexist towards women and acting like they're inferior in Black Clover, and then they run into Mary Leona? It's like, dude, it doesn't matter. Because, like, stuff like your physical strength wouldn't really be a factor in that. It would depend on your magic and, like, how much mana you have. So, someone like Soul is weird because she's, like, the only one really that has a regular sexism thing. So it always feels so odd because it's not something that would have, like, a longer history. It feels like she's the only one doing it. And I know that one dude was, like, hitting on Rebecca and stuff, but it's like he was a drunken idiot. He was just some random dipshit. Whereas, like, Soul is a magic knight. She's already in the magic knight. She's in a squad. She's adjacent to, like, she's not the vice captain, but she's adjacent to the captain. Like, she hangs out with her a lot. And there are characters like people like not even talking about, like, Yami and Jack and stuff, but people like Fuego and Noelle. Like, could you imagine Soul trying to be an asshole to them just because they're guys? I'd just be like, what is your problem? Like, if I met Soul, like, if I just dropped in the Black Clover world and she's like that, I would think she's just a huge asshole. And that's to me, like, what the weird thing about Soul is. Like, I understand Soul's backstory and stuff, but it's really weird from her backstory to kind of just, like, for her to just go after all guys, because it's not all dudes, obviously. Like, she hangs out with a lot of really good, like, she's adjacent to a lot of really good people. Like, again, people like Fuego. Like, Fuego's a guy, but could you imagine? Could you imagine if Soul was trying to, like, talk shit at him just because he's a dude? Like, just being there, knowing what Fuego was like, you'd just be like, wow, what a bitch. Get out of here. Get out of here. Go away. Obviously, she's doing better now, and I'm hoping the next time we get anything focused on Soul that she's nicer about it. She's already Soifon, secretly a lesbian, and her powers don't really mean shit in the grand scheme of things. Are you talking about a Soul? Yeah. So again, Soul. I'm hoping Soul can kind of like get herself together. You know what's weird is like the anime plays more on Soifon having like an actual crush on Yorolichi, whereas like in the manga it just seems like it's kind of more like she just has a strong admiration for her. Like she just is a big, like she just sees her as like this really important person. Obviously, is really capable and someone she looks up to. I always thought that was really strange. Black Clover needs a god dragon. I would love to see like maybe just like a classical dragon. The thing is like I would love to see probably more than anything about Tobata's dragon design. Vastalor's Ichigo versus Indi Natsu. Natsu has the power advantage because he could just burn all of his Ryatsu attacks. Like it's really weird because it's like Natsu has, at a core, probably like the most regular power, like, you know, fire, obviously it's dragon fire, magic and stuff. But people like Naruto or like Ichigo, or their primary attacks or stuff like Getsuga Tensho and Rasengan, like they're flammable to Natsu, and he has like the general power advantage. It's really strange. It's kind of like how, despite where Luffy is at versus Asta. Asta's powers aren't going to work the same against Luffy, and Luffy just has a general power advantage over him for just being way physically stronger. Well, thank you for the 10, or not 10, well, I guess 10 total, but $5 super chat, John Tate. My thing about Julius is that he says he wants to bring out the potential Magic Knights, but makes male Blue Roses are errand boys. Julius is sus. How many, is there an idea of how many Blue Rose males there are?
Oh, shit. You just busted a nut.
Because I do vaguely remember, like, mention of from Soul that she would like they would get Yuno in the squad and pretty much do that with him, but like I would get pissed. Could you imagine getting into the Magic Knight squad? You get to that and it's like, from a standpoint of being someone super junior, I could see like, you know, getting a lot of kind of like grunt work and stuff makes sense, but like after a while I'd be pissed, especially Soul. And again, no hate on Soul, but like Soul doesn't do anything. Soul has like no real merit to kind of like back up what she's doing. Like, look at stuff like people like Finral do, and like, you know, his level of support. And then you look at like Soul and like, cool, she throws mud. Good job. Let's male Blue Rose Ross super chat correction. What do you mean? Oh, do you mean just like having them be errand boys? Because that's pretty much what Soul said she wanted to do with Yuno. A squad is around 100. Yeah, I was just wondering if like there was any statement about like a number of guys like in the Blue Rose, because obviously like every time we've ever really seen them, they're women. But I know that Soul did make a comment about it in reference to Yuno at one point, that I do remember. So it was nice to Asta during Asta versus Ancient Demon. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is she's on I think a good path after those stuff with like Yami helping Charlotte, and I am really hoping that the next time we really get some like actual Soul focus, that she kind of just like, yeah, I was kind of an asshole, and then starts to be more regular. Because again, it's like even if you just went off of her initial like, you know, whole thing against men, it's like she was in the Magic Knights for a good amount of time, and you think that like after a while of clearly like we never once saw any dudes in the Magic Knights like be a jerk to her or anything, which again wouldn't make any sense to kind of like be sexist towards her in the Magic Knights, considering Charlotte's a captain and Dorothy's a captain, and they're two of the strongest people in the country. So it'd be like, why? I don't know. It'd be like if I tried to like be sexist towards some chick and she's like standing right next to some like MMA champion, like some female MMA champion. It's just like I'd be asking to get my ass kicked. Or it'd be the same thing. It'd be like, I don't think there was any ever instance of it for Soul, but it's like, why would they? Like, we never really see it. There's a part there, like some of the treasure hunters, Drake. There's like he drops the sexist line against to the women of like people like the main cast, like obviously like Lucy Flair. Well, Flair was there, but like Wendy, Virgo was there, like, you know, telling them like they're only good for like, you know, doing women's work and like shaking their ass and stuff. And from the standpoint of like him, considering only around 10% of people generally have magic, the idea of like where it can still stem out of. Again, kind of like where it kind of came from like real life and just like those older kind of like world settings. You can see it, but in Black Clover, where it's like pretty much everybody but Asta really has magic, and it's a world where everything is really dictated for the most part on how much magic you have and your magic. So stuff like sexism doesn't really make sense. 5, the Eden Zero Element 4 should have Natsu's VA. I assume he will. Natsu or Zankro I think would be really cool, but Natsu I feel like is the way that they're going to go. Think of Noelle, he's gone so far. He's been gone for so long. I really want to see what he's been up to. Also, if he has any new magic spells. Yeah, like, Noelle hasn't really had anything all time skip. Like, he hasn't really done anything really to get a spotlight. Same thing with Fuego. Dorothy hasn't really done anything. And I think that's one of the things people really want, is they want to see, like, some of the other big characters finally get a display. Like, we saw Yami. Like, obviously got to see Yami before he got captured and stuff. We saw Jack. We just saw Marileona kind of go out there and, you know, do her thing with her new cool clothing of fire and her whole purgatory. That Ray ability can cause controversy, the type of arc we're in, so what can she do? What do you mean? Gray's thing is, like, Gray's a dangerous... She's a really dangerous character to have around because of, like, the level of utility in her healing can fix a lot of scenarios. And it's kind of like Hibiki is a character in Fairy Tail that, like, he isn't that big. He's kind of like Gray, like, he's a side character, but he has a really good power. Archive is a dangerous power narratively because he can literally upload spell information into people's heads and completely change scenarios based off that. And Gray is a similar way to where, like, she can just super heal people, and that can really, like, her power by itself can really shift situations. So, like, there are characters that can cause a lot of problems, and I was indifferent on, like, Gray healing Gauche, and I still kind of am. I was a little bit fine with it, because, like, the thing factually we have in Black Clover, is even no matter how hurt a character is, if we can still see their grimoire, if their grimoire is still intact, they're still alive to some degree. To where, like, if we saw a character have, like, chunks of their body blown off, like, worse than what Finral got in the fight against Langris, like, way worse than that, and their grimoire is still intact, we know that they're still alive enough that, like, their grimoire hasn't started fading away, so they're still savable. Whereas, like, Gaj's grimoire is gone, like, he's done. There's, as far as we know, there's nothing he can do about it. The only feasible way I could see him like surviving is Rades. But Rades, like, I don't really see Rades using his power to revive Gaja, like the OP one. Like, he could do the zombie one, but I don't see him doing the one where it's like full res. What's just headcanon? Wait, which one's headcanon? Which one's Juice? I didn't see what you were referencing. Because, I mean, for the most part, the last chunk of time, I was definitely talking about, like, speculations. I don't think I said anything concrete. The only thing that, like, is factual is, like, well, Soul does... Okay. I'm going to have to time you out for that one, Ironclad. Soul does not need Kiaru. That's definitely not something I can support. I got to time you out for that one, my guy.
Oh, shit. You just busted a nut.
Iron Nancy, thank you. Oh, he did it through... okay, Super Chat. I thought it said through... what's it? Crap. Streamlabs. So I was like, where the thing is, but let me see. Thank you for the $15 though. Where do you think Noelle ranks among all the captains? But more importantly, in a death match, who do you think wins, Noelle or Fuego? So right now, the thing is, legitimately, Fuego definitely has the edge because of Salamander, and we know now Saint Stage is a thing, and he should logically be capable of Spirit Dive. In a death match, though, I would say that, though, for sure, Fuego has the power advantage because of Salamander, but Noelle has the mentality advantage, because what we've seen between them is Noelle is way more of like a serious soldier. Like if you put him in scenarios, I think Fuego is way more of the one that would kind of like, he could kill his opponents, but it has to be in like a mindset of like, is this somebody that I should kill? Is somebody that I need to kill? I don't think he's as cutthroat as someone like Noelle, whereas like Noelle has that mentality of, enemy. You are in the way. I'm here to fucking kill you for my country. Get out of my way or die. Like, he has a way more serious mental state when it comes to going into fighting. And we saw that when they were raiding, like, the Eye of the Midnight Sun's base and stuff. Like, he's way more ready, I think, to kill an opponent. Kind of like, I don't know the difference between Natsu and Suzaku. I think that's a really easy way to describe it. Because we know Natsu's fine killing somebody if he thinks that it's what he needs to do. Whereas clearly Suzaku is just like, okay, slice. You're an enemy, cut you down. Doesn't matter. You're an enemy to my guild, you're an enemy to me, you're a problem, cut you down. Yeah, Nozelle's way more ruthless. Like, he's way more mentally prepared to kill somebody than Fuego is. And I don't count the devils that Fuego's roasting, because those are literally devils getting ready to go out and maul and rip people apart. The duck fruit model dinosaur? Wait, what? There's a duck fruit? Hang on. I feel like I can't tell if you're trolling me, and I want to Google it, but I can't tell if this is something that's going to lead me to something strange. Do you think Damari Asta could return? God Soul in general? She should still have her God Soul, I would assume, but I don't know if she's going to return. Like, I know, like, Demaria fans want her to. I like Demaria, but I like her where she's at, because we know that she's happier. And she's in a good spot. She's clearly enjoying her life. And then, like, I prefer that over her just coming back just to see her come back. You know? Like, as much as I would love to see her kind of show up and do some really cool shit. One, it would be difficult, because you'd have to, like, if she's going to go up against an opponent, like, they have to either be someone like Suzaku, who could probably just blitz her before she even gets the time stop off, where it's just like she just, you know, she doesn't know who she's fighting and he just kind of walks past her, or somebody who has a resistance to time stop. Honestly, when Dante attacked Gauche, I didn't feel anything because I didn't care about Gauche. That's one of the things too, is like Gauche was easily my lowest ranked Black Bull. If it was like Finral or Magna or even Henry, I like Henry more than Gauche. Like, even Henry, I would have definitely said, like, been more worried about. Whereas, like, Gauche, I don't hate Gauche, but Gauche is definitely at the bottom of my list. Because, like, we've got development with Gauche, but, like, we've only really gotten those first chunks. And I think through Grey we're going to get more, but, like, their characters have not had anything since then. It's really weird. It's like the stuff with Grey is really strange to me, to the point we're at now, because that was in the 240s. Yeah, that was in the 240s, because that was around when Yami showed up and stuff, and Asta went berserk and whatnot. So it's been almost 60 chapters, meaning it's been over a year rather since that scene happened, and it hasn't been relevant. It's kind of like I was talking today that Georg was introduced 2.5 years almost ago, and he has, like, the both times we've seen him, he has not gotten up off his couch. He's been sitting down since his introduction. Like, dude is chilling. Nozel would have killed Rades on, like, Fuego? Yeah, I think he would have immediately, like, cut off his head. And also, it's mentioned, but it's never utilized, and I personally think it makes sense, so, like, even though we never really see it in action, I think it makes perfect sense just because it's Mercury, that he can poison somebody with his magic. Because it's not the same as, like, metal or anything. It's specifically Mercury. So I would assume that if Tabata says it can poison people, and it's specifically Mercury, then it's going to be able to poison somebody. Nozel versus Fuego. Like, Fuego has the potential to just completely dominate, but I think Nozel is somebody that is way more quick to act and way more quick to end the fight than someone like Fuego. Sinbad can beat Goku. Yeah, Sinbad, the god Sinbad, isn't he? Like, he's like a god. He's like a god. He's way more than like a Dragon Ball god structure where there's raw power, where he's like can create things and people. From Moon Dragon God to having a Sword Saint Dragon. And I've really liked all the cool dragon stuff. That's what's been really fun about 100 Years Quest. Is like, it's weird because Fairy Tail obviously had like a lot of dragon focus, but you mostly get dragons and dragon stuff scattered, whereas like 100 Years Quest has been very dragon heavy the whole time, which has been hype. Especially because we've known that dragons are they were the pinnacle and stuff. They are the peak of their world, really. So now's the time, obviously, when we're going to be seeing like a bunch of chunks of them. And there's only so many things that could be above things like the dragon gods and whatnot. Gauch has great taste in women. Okay, I gotta time you out again, man. Putting time out. Don't be... I know you're joking, but you gotta keep the sussery to a fair amount. Don't get overly sus. Wait, is Sinbad for Magi really infinite? Could beat Goku? He could beat Goku. I don't think he's as absurd as people. Like he's not like the one above all or the source or the presence or any of these like omniversal beings who are above all these other absurd characters. I think he's way closer to like a classical god where it's like, you know, he can create like, cause I know he can create cosmoses and stuff, and he has ways of creating beings and things and stuff. I don't think it's as nearly as uncapped as some people make it out to be, but I do think that he can beat Goku. I think that he's way more powerful. He's got way more hacks. He's got better powers. Sasuke over Gajio? I mean, yeah, he scales way higher. He's got more powers. Natsu, the thing about Natsu, though, over Natsu and Naruto is Natsu counters the shit out of Naruto. Think of, like, Naruto's chakra cloaks. He's literally wearing something that Natsu can light on fire. He's legitimately wearing gasoline. Like, to Natsu, this dude is literally just is just spraying gasoline all over his body. He just jumped into a pool of gasoline and then gets ready to fight Natsu. And like any of his attacks that are things like Rasengans, Russian Shurikens, Natsu can burn. Natsu has a very clear power advantage over him. And especially now, because he doesn't have Kurama anymore. Don't take Ironclad too seriously. He's trolling. Like, that's Nevs. He's the dude he was Rex the anti-hero and Rex the villain. He's just trolling. But he's gotta calm it down. You gotta take a breather, my guy. I know you're still here. Take a breather. There's no too sussery. Like the stuff about like Sol and Kiaru and stuff about Mary. That's like we should know. Like that. Those were the lines. Other stuff I don't care. I'm a very lenient guy when it comes to inappropriate comments. Because you know I get a joke. But you gotta be careful, man. Don't say anything too heavy. Think we'll see another Devil Gate opening? I think so. I think we'll get 2 to 3. I think we'll get somewhere around like 2 to 3 gates, and then that will be the deciding factor if we're going to stay on this, or is this where it stops, and then we're going to see more gates open later in the series. Like depending on maybe Megicula is going to like play a bigger role in stuff later on. Do I think Morris is going to be OP? I hope so. I do like Morris, and I think Morris has a lot of potential. Because, like, the thing about Black Clover, legitimately, is Black Clover doesn't have a lot of long-running villains. Like, we had Patri, but obviously that wasn't entirely what we thought it was. Zagrid was more of, like, a surprise villain that, you know, it filled in a lot of holes. Dante looked like he was going to be that, but obviously, at least as of right now, is not. Maybe Tabata is, like, what happened with him and Magna and stuff is just part of his plan. And he's just kind of, like, putting Dante through the mud before Dante gets into a spot where he stops fucking around all the time. But Morris right now is the best bet, because Morris obviously he's been in is a character, has existed in the story since near the beginning. He's got ties to other characters. He's got a lot just generally going on for him that gives him more of the potential of a much longer character. Thinking the Shining Stars are dying this arc? I hope not. I know people were talking about potentially Witch earlier, but I don't really see. I don't know. I just don't really see it happening. At least as of right now. I think one thing that I don't really think I'm taking fully into consideration with the idea of Witch dying or a Shining Star dying is how long Eden Zero is going to be. Because Mishima already mentioned that he said Eden Zero wasn't going to be as long as Fairy Tail, and that could change, obviously, but I think it'll really depend on the vitality of some characters and the potential for killing off some characters. I think will really depend on that. Because, like, say Eden Zero isn't going to be nearly as long. Say, like, Eden Zero is only, like, As long as Rave Master, so we'd be almost halfway. No, we would be, because for some reason I thought we were in the 120s. We're in like 150s, so we'd already be halfway. So stuff like characters die, like if you wanted to kill off someone like Witch or something, that would be like a good time to do it. Because I do personally prefer the shonen, like the mainstream battle shonen kind of style of not killing off characters just to kill characters off. The same way that like the same way that you might get like recently in like recent areas of like Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff. Like Jujutsu Kaisen definitely had, I don't give names in case there's anyone that's anime only, but they definitely had a death that got me. Like definitely one that got me, but I don't really like it when like characters get killed off just to kill characters off, unless it's something like some mass event that killed off a bunch of like not so important characters, like characters that it doesn't really matter if they like it's not intended to be as like impactful, rather than it's way more set to be like a serious situation versus like just killing off characters. I much prefer the way more rare like deaths that don't happen as much, but they're way more emotional and way more impacting to the characters adjacent to whoever dies, rather than just like we want it to feel like any character could die at any point to make it feel way more real. Like I get from both perspectives, but I definitely obviously prefer one that's gonna hit me harder as a reader, because it's gonna give me way more of a connection to the story. It's gonna give me way more of a reason to have an emotional connection to a story if it's built in a way that gives me way more emotional investment and way more impact. Because, like, say a character dies off, then it's supposed to be important. Like, for those, I'll give a character an example. I mean, Naruto's been over for a bit. So Neji's a character I really liked. I liked Neji in his first parts. And not only that, like, he was the guy I primarily played in the games. So I had both at the time of, emotional connection to Neji, and from a story standpoint, and from outside it, from the games and stuff, because he was the guy that I always, I liked playing the most. But then, like, between that point and then years and years, because keep in mind, I don't remember how old I was at the time, but I had to maybe be like 13 or something. I don't remember what time around that area Naruto was going on, like stuff like the Chunin exams, and like I would have to go back and look and see when those were initially airing on TV and Cartoon Network stuff, and what year, because it was whatever year that was, and then all the way into whatever it was, 2014, 2013, when he got killed off, and it's just like, he hadn't done anything for so long, so like that emotional connection died. So it's sad for the characters in the series to a degree, but it's just like, it just felt like he just really wanted to kill off a character, rather than if he killed off Might Guy, like if he stuck with it and killed off Might Guy, because that's a character that had a lot of build up with the readers to give a lot of more emotional investment. Xenon getting clapped through chapters, it's not looking good for Xenon, like legitimately. Dante got into a bad spot, Vonica got into a bad spot. I don't really see Xenon having a good time, because there's still characters around that could show up and help and it's clear that the Dark Triad, like we thought the Dark Triad were going to be the primary villains, but the Dark Triad seem to be way more like how it's like pre-Elf, Veto, Fauna, and Raya. They're strong, but they're absolutely not the main focus. Think about, like, really, when you think about start of Black Clover all the way to the Elf arc, and then just the pre-Elf versions of them, that's kind of like the level of importance and weight that they have. Because, like, they still have, like, good stuff, like the Vonica fight, like Xenon's initial display, obviously Dante's fight, and then you look at something like Veto's fight and stuff. They still have good showings, but they're not nearly as like in like good, like holding the same weight as people like way later going off like Patreon stuff. I think Fairy Tail should take out a dragon theme, yet not to a dragon slaying power, but go more into fighting gods like DBS. No, I like the dragon gods more. I think it's cooler in that aspect. If Mishima wanted to go down stuff like that, I think it'd be cooler if it was more in like he ends up seeing stuff like dragon gods, where it's like these are the pinnacles of certain like races and stuff, and different areas. Like if we got some like god of curses, god of magic, some characters maybe like a god of alchemy, like we're starting to kind of like get into zones like that. Vonica died. It seems like it. We didn't see her at all in this chapter. Imagine if next gate is Megicula's. I think Megicula is a little higher. I don't think Megicula is like as low as 2. I think she's probably like somewhere at like 4 to 5, just based off like her intelligence, her level of display. Her magic is way more complex than what the twins had, because like the twins had their whole thing with like burning and freezing mana and like destroying the spells, but Tabata gave them like 3 spells between them, and they weren't even that smart of fighters. Whereas like Megicula's fighting way more intelligently, way more strategically. Even though she knows that she's way more powerful than them, she's not just like standing there and being an idiot. There's only one relevant god in Fairy Tail, no group should be able to handle him. You talking about Ankh-Saram? Because like there's still other gods, but like none of them are going to do anything to Ankh-Saram, at least as of right now. I would imagine only like someone like full power E&D, like when Natsu fully achieves that level, is a threat to Ankh-Saram. Fuego should load if Noelle. Noelle versus Fuego, like I said, I think it would come down to either which one, like, does Fuego get something like if he has Spirit Dive, like he's had the potential to completely overpower Noelle, but Noelle has way more of the mindset and the mentality to end the fight. Dude, I'm gonna keep timing you out. Don't say stuff that gets super sus. You're gonna get me in trouble. Because I don't know the extent of like how YouTube does things, but I know you can get in trouble for people saying stuff in your chat. And I do not want to get in trouble. I've actually done really well, surprisingly, at not getting into shit with YouTube. So I would appreciate it if you didn't flood my chat with stuff about like jokes about characters getting raped and stuff. I would much prefer that not to be the case. And I'm sure other people in the chat would not like that. They would prefer if you did that, if you did not do that rather as well. Anyways, where did Jaguar go? Well, they said that he's got something that he is already kind of like doing himself. Someone brought up that he might be going to talk to Nero directly, which could be the case. It's kind of weird that there isn't a shonen main character has water powers. You might be right. At least I can't think of any. Well, like, not a lot of characters have just outright elements. Like, Natsu's one of the, like, he's definitely one of the only ones really that doesn't have, like, an element. It's like, Goku's not an elemental, Naruto, Ichigo, Luffy, Asta, Deku, Tanjiro, Denji, Meliodas. Like, there's, like, Yusuke. There's not a lot of elemental people. That was one of the things I really liked about Golem Hearts. I wish Golem Hearts was didn't get axed, because like the main character had stone powers because he's a golem. What are your thoughts about Irene? What's going to happen to her? I personally think the whole Sumeaka is a perfect opportunity to her to get a new body, because she should be able to enchant her personality into one and then shape it into her body again. I remember Mishima bringing up something about tragic fate awaiting Justice and Elsie. Yeah, because Justice and Elsie don't like each other. I know, like, the scene where they kissed is, like, people for some reason, like, people, I get what people could, like, out of context, think that, like, they still have a thing for each other, but they were using the potential lingering emotions that the other might have to find an opening to kill each other. Because both of them went into that with the intentions, when they stabbed each other, to end the other one, and they immediately went back to trying to kill each other. I think what Mishima's doing, because he's, like, Justice and Elsie, the way that he has it set up, they are Urza and Jalal reversed. And I think whereas, like, just, like, Urza and Jalal obviously are moving towards more of a happy ending together, that Justice and Elsie are going to end, they're essentially going to be Romeo and Juliet in the way that they died, rather than how they hooked up together and actually lived happily. Which I think will be a better way to do it. Though I would say, how I personally would like it to go, I prefer if Justice lived and Elsie died. Because the way that it would go, Sieg one way, like, you would essentially have it different in each series. Sieg goes, Urza and Jalal stay, and then Justice stays, but Elsie goes. I think that'd be the coolest way to do it. I'm fine if both of them die, but I kind of would prefer it if Justice lived. I don't know. Maybe I'm just the only one on that. Game of Thrones season 1 through 4 is way better than 5 through 8. I don't need to go into discussion on that. Noelle versus Xenon. Honestly, I feel like Xenon, like, legitimately, like, has the potential to completely end him, Because, like, he has the whole absolute space thing, and I would say, like, 100% is, like, one thing, because it's, you know, it's obviously a way more powerful Xenon. But we don't know what Noelle is currently capable of. But logically speaking, Bones versus Mercury, like, Mercury doesn't have a form. So it's like, even if you blocked with your, like, if you blocked with Bones, the Mercury should just be able to go through the gaps. It would be like if you tried to block Dimension Slash, it wouldn't matter. It would cut right through it. I'm going to start skipping through some of your comments, Nevs, if you're going to keep being sus, man. I was able to fight 3 seconds after obtaining Wendy's body, yet it's been a year since that, and Wendy still can't fly on her own. I wouldn't say it's a letdown. Like, Irene was a master enchantress. She was a 400-plus-year-old royal-level dragon who was way more knowledgeable and intelligent with both dragon slaying and magic. I wouldn't even put... Why would you even, like, remotely put that against Wendy? Like, that's silly. That's like how we saw future Rogue when he took over Rogue's body. Like, he wasn't fighting with his own skill. He was fighting with Rogue's untapped power that he hadn't fully utilized yet. Then she died only for Naruto and Nana to get together. I don't think that was the case. I think it was more of just, like, he wanted to kill somebody off, so he killed off Neji. Because, like, Naruto, like, he said he always intended for Naruto and Hinata to get together. And I don't think Neji dying was, was a required catalyst. I feel like, legitimately, after the battle, you could have just had... Because Naruto knew Hinata liked him and had feelings for him. So you literally could just had everything past that and subtracted the stuff with Neji, and it would have been just fine. Tabata has something for Xenon and Unit, to be honest. I mean, there's the high potential for that. I'm just saying, like, right now, based off of how he's treated the last two, it's not look good for him. Cool if Wendy gets a power-up. I mean, Wendy's strength right now will go in her enchanting abilities. Like, she can definitely, like, just climb based off of her growth in enchantments and capabilities of that, because they're OP. Stuff like the Separation Enchantment, Deuce Zero, Re-Raise, those are all, like, huge game-changing powers. Like, all of those enchantments are really heavy impact. The fact that she has an ability that can just nope stuff like buffs, debuffs, status ailments. She can separate, combine like people's like fused powers and aspects. Like, she should like say like the obvious one like people use like in comparison like Yuno versus like Wendy. Not even talking about the obvious elemental things. Wendy can set like because she has a separation enchantment. Something like Spirit Dive, she just says nope, and she separates it. And someone like Vonica as well, she should be able to separate the connection with Megicula. Like, she has really, really dangerous abilities that are only really balanced right now because Wendy's so young and inexperienced. But we know Wendy has a lot of untapped potential from Irene, and Irene is teaching stuff to her. How do you... This current arc section of the arc will finish Yami and William survive. Morse gets away. I don't want William to live though. You kill William. Keep Yami. Let me see. I think I'm mostly good on the chat because it looks like a lot of people are talking to each other, and we're at like 2.5 hours, so we've had some good time in here. I really appreciate everyone for showing up. Even the 3 dislikes. I'm still fine with you guys. You still showed up. You participated and you gave interaction. Tower of God? I only got like 40 chapters in the Tower of God. Anyway, I'm going to call it here. This Tuesday is not a Fairy Tail Day. So the next stream will be next Saturday, and then obviously the following Tuesday, or the Tuesday after this next Tuesday, because that'll be 100 Years Quest Chapter Day. Wait, who do you think is going to find Aquarius the Ski, Lucy or Brandish? I kind of want Brandish to find it and then give it to Lucy as, like, you know, obviously, like, maybe something to repair for everything that happened. You can have a really good moment between them. Because, like, with Brandish, she could get it, but what is she going to do with it? What value does she have in having Aquarius' key? Because she's not a celestial spirit wizard. I mean, she can learn how to use the magic, but it's not like she's going to utilize Aquarius in any way. Because we know that, like, the power of the summoner is obviously important, but also the connection to the summoner is also important, and she's not nearly as connected to Aquarius as someone like Lucy is. But yeah, thanks everyone for showing up. I will talk to you guys next week. I got a couple of videos coming up. After that stuff with Georg, there's a video that I've been meaning to do that I pretty much have to do, and I'll put that out hopefully soon. I still got to do my video on White Dragon Sling Magic. That one I'm going to try and put out either I'm going to try to do that today and probably put it up Monday. I wanted to put it out that last week, but I had stuff I had to do, unfortunately, that I wasn't able to get ahead on enough, so I got postponed like a full week. And then I got to get on Sting's video. Luckily, I should be able to do that one fairly easily, much more easy, because I'm going to reread a bunch of stuff with Sting for the White Dragon Slayer video. And then just a couple of general videos coming up. So look forward to that. And I will talk to you guys later. Obviously, chapters tomorrow. Look forward to that. We'll be, I'll be on Joe's Get Stream and stuff. And I hope you guys